Good morning and welcome, Nigeria. Welcome to the second Saturday in 2025. After a week that felt like a box office release of Chaos in Nigeria, the sequel. Well, we're here to sift through the rubble, the drama, and also the lingering confusion. Don't worry. Let's begin by sending massive congratulations to my uncle, none other than the Honorable FCT Minister Nyesom Wike, on his son's graduation. Jordan, he graduated from the University of Exeter in the UK. Now, my cousin is now fully armed with the tools to succeed in the land of the free. And from far, far away from the system, his father, my uncle Wike himself, nurtured back home. Now, do remember, this is the same uncle who, as River State Governor, unceremoniously ended scholarship programs that could have helped certain young Nigerians aspire to these such heights like his son. Now, while River's youths were left to dream of graduating from such universities as Wike's son, Uncle Wike was ensuring his own family's dreams can come true abroad. Nigerians are clapping, some of them with their hands, some of them with their heads. And in case you missed it this week, let's move on to the Naira abuse saga, which feels like a sequel of last year's controversy with Bobrisky, doesn't it? But in fact, it's a totally different animal all on its own. The Okoya boys, including Rahim Okoya, decided to treat the Naira like confetti at a wedding, casually tossing it in a viral video. Now, Nigerians, predictably, some were kind of like outraged. But here's the kicker. This is where the plot thickens. The Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, made a statement about arresting a junior officer you could see featured in the video, completely ignoring the actual perpetrators, the Okoya boys themselves. Now, though he has come out to tell that the basis of the arrest was different from what the public might think, talk about selective accountability. Rahim Okoya, however, has since issued a heartfelt apology. But wait a second, it makes you wonder, does saying sorry now comes, or has it become an official immunity card for the rich? Because if so, I think I'd like to retroactively apologize for every blanket that I stole. Sorry, every blanket that I borrowed from those Lagos-Dubai flights. Yeah, I have a couple of them. But in any case, now let's brace ourselves as we stare into a somber occurrence. We turn to mourn the tragic explosion at a school in Abuja that claimed 2 lives. Now, the heartbreaking incident happened at the Salihu Tanko Islamiyya School in the Sabongari area, where a suspected bomb exploded during a routine lesson, injuring several others. Now, the tragedy underscores the harsh reality of our national security lapses. Families have been shattered, and as we extend our deepest condolence to those affected, well, we hope that this becomes a moment for introspection, both nationally and intentionally, and also perhaps maybe internationally as well. As the police investigate the case, may the souls of the departed rest in peace, and may the nation learn to do better from this. And now, onto some good news. Fuel prices might finally drop to 500 naira per litre. Yes, you heard that right. From an average of 1,100 naira per litre, the possibility of price slashes feel like maybe it's a belated Christmas miracle. Nigerians, get ready to calculate your poverty at a slightly reduced rate now. But if you ask me, I'll say, let's not celebrate too soon. Because after all, this is Nigeria, where promises often come with hidden conditions. Remember minimum wage? Yeah, you didn't know. They got us like that. It is actually passable, maybe, and we'll be discussing that on the show today. Let's just wonder. Are they trying to distract us from anything deeper? Keep your eyes out, because that reduction, it's a bit suspect. And speaking of distractions, Lagosians, take a bow, because December was your moment. And you milked it dry, didn't you? From Burna Boy at that concert where he barely concerted, to the Detty December madness, the IJGBs, I Just Got Back, descending on Lagos like it was the second coming of, what, Coachella? You know Coachella? Well, Forbes Africa, they describe Lagos even as Africa's entertainment heartbeat. The season was big because everybody wanted to be in Lagos, with international stars and celebrities flocking here for the ultimate party, and they got that. But now that all the music has stopped, and the reality is beginning to hit, let's talk about your December spending. How much debt are you nursing from all those overpriced cocktails and designer drip that you had on? I mean, I saw some of you guys spending money like there was no January, or like January itself had a reset button and everything was going to go back to normal. Well, spoiler alert, there isn't any reset button. And today, we'll dive into the aftermath of your Detty December extravagance and what it means for our wallets. No, your wallet, because I was prudent. Finally, ladies, gentlemen, children even, let me welcome my partner in crime, Judith Atibi, to the show. Judith, so how was your Detty December, and are you counting receipts or dodging creditors or thinking, oh my God, I have to pay for this come tomorrow? What's your status?
Oh goodness! Look, I didn't spend any. I mean, of course, you know this. We all were working around the clock, and also,
yes, indeed.
To be fair, I had a bit of Detty December, but it was good because I wasn't spending.
Okay. I see that you're adding that island flavor to yours. It's Dotty for you.
Dotty.
Dotty December, yeah?
Dotty gal.
Alrighty.
Because I'm a big Dotty gal.
Let's keep it news television, shall we? Welcome to Breakfast Extra. We've got so much coming your way. Stay with us the next couple of hours.
And you're welcome on today's edition of Breakfast Extra for the second Saturday of 2025. And we have an exciting and thoroughly insightful show for you today. It's going to be conversations that will border on oil and gas sector. It would also border on Detty December, and it will also border on healthcare, and of course, so much more. We've got quite a thought-provoking lineup to just kickstart your weekend. And first off, we'll delve into the very tragic school explosion in Abuja that claimed lives and left many in shock. And then next, we will, talk about the price of petrol. Now, there are speculations that it would come down to 500 naira per litre. We're going to be talking about that and how sustainable this anticipated price drop will be. Then we'll take a lighter turn and we'll delve into the cultural and financial impact of Detty December or Detty December. So Lagos continues to be Africa's entertainment heartbeat, like Mazino said during his intro. So we're going to be, looking a bit about that, and what it would mean for the economics and also the risks as well. We explore all of that in our second hour. And for our last hour, we're going to be discussing something very important. It's the reintroduction of history into Nigeria's school curriculum. And boy, oh boy, am I excited. It was one of my subjects in school, by the way. And afterwards, one of my favorite subjects in school, I beg your pardon. And afterwards, we're going to be tackling the new kid on the block, so to speak, one of the plenty respiratory diseases we now have, which is the HPW. So HPMV. Yeah. See, that's the thing. It has meta.
HMPV.
Do you get what I mean? Like it has meta. It has hyper.
Pneumovirus.
I don't know how something has hyper and has meta in its name.
We promise to practice that name before that story comes up. We'll get it right.
That is concerning. If it has hyper and meta in the name, that is very concerning. But anyway, we're going to be unpacking all of that on today's show. So plenty is going to be lined up for us right here. But first, let's get started with our dailies for today.
Yes, indeed.
We're going to get started with the dailies.
Let's do that already. So for the dailies, we're going to be starting from, let's see now. Here we go. The Punch newspaper this morning for a Saturday, the second Saturday for 2025, has this wave of terror. New attacks plunged 10 states into anxiety. ISWAP suspects arrested during bomb training in Ilesha, Osun State. Wow. Ilesha, Osun State. Now that's very close to Lagos, if you ask me. Now, corruption responsible for Africa's debt burden, says Obasanjo, and subscribers demand telecom services overhaul ahead of tariff hike. We're going to come back to this. I'm sure we're going to find this in other dailies as well. Man interested in dating me should be scared. Kathy, she needed a newspaper thingamajig for that one. In Kano throne, Emir Sanusi secures victory against Bayero as appeal court upturns Justice Liman's verdict. And my 3-year-old son's ear affected by Lagos teacher's repeated slap, says the mother. And Esu not Satan. Traditional worshippers battle bias, seek to change stereotype. That would be a very interesting read, and you can find that on page 13 for the Punch. Kingmakers protest as Makinde appoints new Alafin. Let's talk about that the subscriber issue now. Subscribers, telcos, and the hike that we might be finding. It's not yet certain whether it's going to be a 100% hike, but my question is the effect on businesses, because there isn't any business today that runs without data. Data is very, very important in our lives, in our very simple lives. So if that goes up, imagine the effect on businesses, people's lives and pockets and all of that. Regarding the state of service, it is atrocious currently. I have to come out of my house to make phone calls.
It's, oh, Muzino.
Yes, it's that bad.
Listen, just, let's not get
hit
into
you,
it.
yeah, hit
no,
you.
No,
yeah, I know.
No, you scratched the spot.
Hopefully I didn't scratch the spot. Jennifer's watching.
Oh, sorry, forgive me. Let's move on. Away from Saturday Punch. It was a nightmare yesterday. We're away from Saturday Punch now. We're going to Saturday Independent. And the very first story there is the deplorable state of Nigerian roads hobbles movement of persons and goods. Travelers risk accidents, attacks by bandits, robbers, numerous police roadblocks, nightmarish. And that's from legislator Omei blames contractors for delays in road projects. That story is on page 8. At the top there, Armed Forces Remembrance Day. Flush bandits out of Oyo. Makinde charges military. Afenifere challenges Southwest governments to take actionable steps, and that story there is on page 6. Detty December, how businesses recorded 25% profit increase at 2024 Utile, and that's from a report there. Over 10 billion naira spent on fireworks. Importers 10 billion naira. How Lagos logged 1.2 million tourists, and that's from Kayode Oshibi. You can find this on page 11. Yeah, that's on page, that's Detty December. Yeah, at the bottom there, Azuta Mbata emerges Ohaneze Ndigbo, President General. You find that story on page 3. Jubilation as Governor Makinde approves Prince Owade as new Alaafin of Oyo. That story is on page 4. $52 million Desiani, my queen. I support women's rights and wrong. I'm sorry. Forgive me.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And I'll tell you why, right? I feel like we need to start to understand that as much as there's bad men, there are good men, so there are bad women and good women. Not saying that she's bad or good, but saying that I support women's rights and wrong.
Give that woman a drink.
Desiani Madike's loots. Nigeria-US seal repatriation agreement, that story is on page 3. Rebasing, analysts see drop in GDP, ratios inflation amid food housing cuts. NBS to raise one ICT health education value, that story is on page 4. CSR, how NNPC prioritizes cancer eye care services under Kiari. And lastly here, I think this is for entertainment. I'm looking for roles that resonate with my current status. And that's from Abayomi Alvin. That story is on page 9. That's pretty much all for our papers as we switch gears to our big report for today.
Yes, indeed. Welcome once again. Now let's do big report. We're going to be beginning this morning with a deeply tragic story out of Abuja, where an explosion at the Salihu Tanko Islamiyya School in the Sabongari area has claimed 2 innocent lives and left families and a community in shock. Now, the explosion, which occurred during school hours, injured several students and caused widespread panic among parents and also residents. The police have since confirmed the incident and launched an investigation into the cause of the blast, though, there's still many more details that are incoming. This tragedy raises serious questions about safety, about security, and the protection of children in Nigeria's educational institution. The aftermath of the explosion has left Sabongari residents grappling with grief and fear. Families are mourning the loss of their children, while survivors are receiving medical care amidst an overwhelming atmosphere of uncertainty. Authorities have assured the public that investigations are ongoing and that the police are following up on leads to uncover what led to this terrible event.
It's a package put together by our correspondent Joshua Marayi, who's been following the story. He visited the site of the incident and gathered first-hand accounts of what happened. More details after the authorities swept into action. Take a look.
Blood stains on eaten soybean meal and misplaced footwear tell the story of this tragedy. The explosion rocked the Sani Othman Islamiyya School in the Kuchibui district at Bari Area Council in Abuja. The incident, which is the first of its kind in the community, claimed the lives of 2 students and left others injured.
Yesterday, around 11 to 12, I come back for fun. As I do the road, I hear sign for gun. I don't know whether now gone, whether now watching. I even might say that this quarry people they are bring stone. I just say then. I rush con. As I rush con, I can't reach main road. I can't see outside people they run to go. I must say I rush go there. I can't see people from the ground.
Yeah, I fish man. When they are so do mama la marana. I tell me come on. Can't be for them.
The district head of the community, who was a victim of abduction by kidnappers about 2 years ago, reacted to the incident.
I want to tell the government, say, I want to tell the all world, say, this Alimajiri, I'm not going to allow them to enter this my community again. The thing don't stop. We're not going to hear anything Alimajiri again for this my community. I want to beg government to see, say, to get police station for this our community.
The Assistant Inspector General of Police in charge of Zone 7 and the FCT Commissioner of Police visited the scene also to assess the situation.
This is not bomb blast. I cannot say this is bomb blast at all, because we are still investigating. This school was built for this nomadic education by the federal government of Nigeria, as it then was. So you can see some people has converted it to an Islamic school.
As investigations continue, the community remains on edge, hoping for swift action to prevent such tragedies in the future. Authorities are calling for increased vigilance and cooperation from the public to ensure safety of all residents. In Abuja for News Central, I am Joshua Imarayi.
And joining us.
Oh, I'll take it from there, Judith.
Well, you're on the screen. Go ahead, my friend.
So joining us right now is our correspondent, Joshua Imarayi, who actually put the package together. Joshua, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us here for this conversation. Now, Joshua,
Good morning to you.
Thank you.
Good morning.
If you could, please, can you describe the specific location of the incident and what you observed during the gathering of this details for the report?
Well, unfortunately for us in Abuja, as at Monday, we heard of an explosion that occurred in the outskirts of Abuja. That is the Kochibu district in Buhari area council. Kochibu is just outskirts of Kubwa, the popular Kubwa area in Abuja. So we heard of it before we could access that and gather all resources to get there. It was late in the night. En route to that community, we saw the commissioner of police coming out of the community with his convoy. And when we got there, the images we saw, the debris we saw, told us stories of what actually transpired there earlier in the day. Because we saw, you must know this popular Hausa food, awara. We saw awara, some remnants of awara and the bucket. We saw some footwear. We saw blood all over. And one thing that caught my attention was particularly the classroom. The classroom is a classroom. The school is a classroom. It's a school with 3 classrooms particularly, and written boldly on top of that building is the Sangaya. I can't pronounce that. But it actually means Islamiyya, Sani Uthman Islamiyya School. It made me ask so many questions when I got there, and I asked the residents of that place, this school here, does any of your community members attend the school? And they told me no. Is anybody affected from your community? They told me no. The teachers from that particular school, is he a resident of this community? Told me no. You must understand that there is something that is common in Abuja here. Most indigenes of Abuja, they are termed baggy, yes. But unfortunately for those people are not baggy. Now, when we asked further, we understood that those people are actually people from Katsina who left Katsina to Abuja. And that particular school was established during the tenure of President Goodluck Jonathan when he swept in for nomadic education. Though, however, it was now converted to an Islamiyya school for Quranic studies, which the government is now aware of. So when we got to inquire more, we discovered that, yes, there was an explosion, and people died as a result of that explosion. But what is rather unclear now is the police is saying 2 adults who visited the Malam at the school actually brought that explosive device. But however, when we questioned the community for that, they told us that the people who died as a result of that explosion were students of that Islamiyya school. So many questions on that side, like you would believe me. So basically, that was what we saw there in that school.
And just very, there's just a lot has happened so far. I mean, the school being converted, the community members not attending the school, authorities not knowing what's really going on in the school. There's so much to unpack, and I'm very certain that, Joshua, you continue to follow up on this story as more details unfold, and as the police continue to probe the cause of the explosion and the nature of this explosion. But let's talk about the aftermath of this explosion. Were you able to speak to the families and the authorities? But before you answer that question, let's take a look at the aftermath of this tragedy. You put together this report. Let's take a look at this.
On January the 6th, an improvised explosive device was detonated at Salihu Tanko Islamiyya School in the Bari Area Council of Abuja. The explosion, which resulted in the deaths of 2 individuals and injuries to 2 others, has sparked reactions from residents of Abuja.
It is something they should be worried about, but they should also know that it's not the first time, and it's not going to be the last time. It will continue happening. We just have to accept the fact when something is bad, it's bad. The nation is not in good condition.
We thought we've gone past all these explosions here and there. If it's coming back, people should get worried, because we don't have to go back to the era where people are checked. It causes a lot of delay because of checkpoint and all of that. We shouldn't get to that point anymore.
For some, the incident is a call to security agencies to deepen their tentacles across all nooks and crannies of the capital.
Actually, our security agencies are doing fantastically well. But I will just urge them to intensify their efforts.
I once told a friend that the most safest place in Nigeria should be FCT. So if Abuja is not safe, that means the whole Nigeria is not safe. Because coming from Kaduna State, I know what we face. I know the things that people are facing every day.
This tragic incident has once again highlighted the pressing need for enhanced security measures in schools and communities across the Federal Capital Territory. Residents are calling for urgent action to prevent a reoccurrence of such events and ensure the safety of all. In Abuja for News Central, I am Joshua Imadayi.
Very valid concerns there from the residents of Abuja. Joshua, once again, many thanks for joining us and just shedding more light on this devastating event. And we hope to, I'm sure you're going to continue to follow up on this story as the police continue their investigation to the cause and the root cause of this explosion. But Joshua, many thanks for joining us.
Pleasure.
Joshua Marai, their correspondent live from Abuja, joining us following the Abuja school explosion. We're going to short break. When we come back, it's time for us to talk about the New Year projections, particularly about fuel prices. Is it dropping to 500 naira? Find out after the break. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Going straight into our big story. Now for today, we're looking into an issue that affects every Nigerian, the price of petrol. Thank you very much. Now, recent projections by independent marketers suggest that petrol prices might drop to 500 naira per litre in 2025. Now, following months of economic turbulence and significant hikes in the cost of petrol products, reports indicate that increased fuel imports, stabilized exchange rate, and reduced global oil prices could contribute to the price adjustments. However, while this prospect brings a glimmer of hope to many Nigerians, questions remain about the sustainability of such a reduction. Can the economics behind the projection hold firm over time, or are we staring at a temporary fix that could rebound into further price volatility? What does this mean for citizens who have borne the brunt of high transport costs, skyrocketing inflation, and widespread economic hardship?
So to break this down, we are joined by 2 distinguished guests. First, we have Ukadike Chinedu. He's a National Publicity Secretary for IPMAN. He will give us an insider perspective on how marketers are approaching this projection. And we'll also be joining us will also be Onoha Nachi. He is the General Managing Director, and CEO of TTL Group, whose insights will help us understand the broader economic implications of the potential price adjustment. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. Let me get started with you, Ukadike. Again, I think Happy New Year as well. Season's greetings to both of you. Even though we're like 11 days into the new year.
It's 2 weeks, Judith. We're already 2 weeks in.
We can still say it until it's Valentine's Day.
Oh dear, holiday to holiday.
But gentlemen, I must ask you, and I'm starting with you, Ukadike. What specific factors are driving this projection of a price drop to 500 naira? Is it visible? Are marketers seeing real signs of this happening soon?
Well, what has happened in a very short period of time, within a space of like 7-8 months, not 10 months, have shown that increase in local refineries and stoppage of importation of petroleum products can drive towards price reduction. We are aware that fuel was skyrocketing to almost 1,500, and some places in the north 1,800. When Dangote rolled out his refinery, and Nigeria was saddened with importation of petroleum products to be able to sustain our domestic transportation and the rest of that. And within that period of time, with independent marketers, we are heavily dependent on the products supplied by NMPCL. It is only when NMPCL gives us product that we can be able to give product. So that was what we call a monosource of petroleum products. So it becomes a right-tripping procedure for an independent marketer to be able to get even for 5,000 liters of petroleum products in his filling station. And there was what we call a protracted, scarcity of petroleum products. It can come tomorrow, you have good scarcity, next week the scarcity will come back again. The federal government will give one reasons or one policy or the other just to continue to sustain movement of vehicles so that there will not be an economic breakdown. So Dangote is here, Port refinery is here. Like in your report, you said increase in domestic refining of petroleum products will drive down price. We are in a deregulated economy now. Subsidy has been removed. Investors are coming in because now government is no longer regulating petroleum or subsidizing petroleum products. And even those who want to import petroleum products, if they can be able to get it cheaper, NNDPR has given them license to go ahead and import and compete with the domestic refineries.
Mr. Okadike, just a second, Mr. Okadike, if you do not mind. Mr. Okadike, just a second. I wanted to be absolutely sure on one thing. Now, this 500 naira, how possible is it for, like, let's say the next 1 or 2 months or 3 months or 4 months? And how are the marketers? Wait, hang on, I'm not done. Just a second. How are the marketers reacting to this? Is it going to benefit the marketers in any way, shape, or form if the price remains higher or if it goes down to 500 naira?
Let me just answer that question straight. When product was for 5,000 liters of PMS, we are giving 8-point-something million naira. Marketers can be able to kind of sell like 5 to 6 trucks in a week. So marketers can be able to sell like 10 trucks in a month. But now the behavior of buying petroleum product has changed because product is around 900 to 1,000 to 1,000 before. So commuters are no longer coming to the filling station to be able to fill their tank. So the behavioral attitude of our customers have changed. They are no longer filling their tanks. And now that the product is going down, well, most marketers are not happy. You can even see somebody say, give me 50 liters, give me 20 liters, because the price is coming down drastically. And now our buying of this product, before we spent close to 50 million. The huge amount now is coming down to for something million naira. So we are praying that it will continue to dwindle down so that the cost of fund will not be too heavy on us. And whenever there is a high cost of fund, that is also imperatively increasing the price of petroleum product. So that is why we said we will be happy if this product will even go down less than 500, because the competition is going here and there. Dangote want to remain in business. They want the marketers to buy from them. NNPCL has been struggling seriously to ensure that all their refineries are working to be able to also to compete and kill this issue of monopoly, and which is what the government is afraid of. Some other local refineries are also trying to upgrade their refinery to be able to crack PMS. So when all these things are done, what is happening in the oil and gas industry will be a replica of what has happened in the telecommunication industry.
All right. Let me come to you, Mr. Nachi, Onoha Nachi, and just talk about, you know, how realistic this projection will be. There are so many variables when it comes to the final price, the final pump price of petrol, right? Besides just global oil market, the cost of fuel imports, the on-stream of Warri and Port Harcourt refinery, which they're now saying that Warri will come on stream at 60%. Is this ever going to happen? 500 naira at least? I mean, it's a huge cut, okay, from the 970 or 980 at the pump price, and giving a lot that is happening on the global stage. We know that President Trump is going to be sworn in anytime soon. There's still the war in Ukraine and Russia. So much is affecting oil price. Can we achieve 500 naira? Mr. Nachi.
Having me. Yeah, can hear you.
Yes, loud and clear.
Thank you for having me. And I would like to start by your last statement, because we have to be realistic and what were those factors that affected it. And from the point of economics, we don't do voodoo economics, we deal with data that will give us what we need to know. Once you can back it up with data, it does not make sense trying to say this will go this way or this will not go the other way. But the most important thing to look at is what are those factors that made the price go up? Are things being done to take it down or to affect it so that it can be, for example, the sale of crude in Naira to Dangote and Co. So the forex aspect of it will also absolutely be affected. So it's clear that yes, but I will want those that are predicting those numbers of drop, please, can they share the prediction? But as a professional, I'll tell you one thing very clear. There are key factors, either from the demand pool or from the price push. You'll begin to see the effect. Like what Okadike said, consumption rate has actually dropped, not even just the real consumption, but the smuggling aspect of it that increased the consumption has been so neutralized by price differences, and so it becomes very, very inefficient for anyone to get involved in that. So we are facing real consumption. But is it a possible thing that it could drop? Yes. It definitely can drop far below 500, which will be where I'll be looking at. If Warri refinery comes up, Port Harcourt functioning full capacity, and Dangote functioning, and the relationship is being managed well, then we can be able to see the effects. But the only part of it is ability to understand that this government must do something to bring it as low as possible. We also have to understand the relationship between the price of PMS in any part of the world and exchange rate. It has a direct bearing. The correlation is direct. It's not partial. So is the exchange rate also dropping, which will guarantee us that? Let me give you a typical scenario. Let's say Warri, Dangote's and Co's comes to produce, and we buy and sell in Naira. And what the supply does not meet our market demands, it means we are still going to import some portions of it. That part we are still going to portion of it requires forex. It requires exchange. And if the exchange or not even being hedged in such a way that the market can be stable, then we'll still have to see some level of volatility. If you recall, the difference between our 170 exchange rate to 1,700 exchange rate will tell us what it is. So it's just there. But my predictions, what I'll say is that while you're working on the supply push to help on the exchange rate factor and the demand pool also, that will help.
Okay. Well, Mr. Onoha, you've listed a variable of factors. There's demand and supply, there's price push and pull, there's smuggling, which I found very interesting, as I didn't think about the effects of smuggling. So I want to come back to Mr. Okadike on the smuggling issue. Mr. Okadike, since the price of petrol had risen, what has it been like, since you're on the forefront here, when it comes to smuggling in Nigeria? Are we still experiencing the massive smuggling we were experiencing from before?
Okay, if you look at the NMPCL, not NMPCL, NNDPR data of consumption of petroleum products before this deregulation was totally removed, Nigeria was consuming almost 107 or 90-something million liters monthly. In the last meeting we had in NLC office, where the chief authority officer of NNDPR statistically informed us that the consumption, the local consumption has drastically dropped from 50 million to 45 million. That will show you that the issue of smuggling has been curbed and reduced drastically. The NSA, in his also wisdom with the custom chief, inaugurated Operation Whirlwind. That Operation Whirlwind was to ensure that petroleum products in Nigeria does not cross the border. And I think they have been performing very, very well. But there is one significant thing I want to also let you know, that when this deregulation and subsidy was removed in Nigerian market, neighboring countries started demonstrating, not Nigerians, our countries, our neighbors, our neighboring countries, they started demonstrating in their own country that why will Nigeria remove subsidy? So it means that this subsidy is not only for Nigerians, it's also for those who are smuggling this petroleum product to the neighboring countries, and they are smiling to the bank against the backdrop of the economy. And within this period of time, you can take a look at how our dollar, the effect of our dollar, how the exchange rate is gradually coming down, and becoming a little bit stable. Stability of our dollar can also, encourage the IOCs to come and invest. Because when our naira is nothing to write home about, you find it very, very difficult for these international communities to come and invest. With independent marketers, we have known how many international organizations and how many world refineries that have indicated to holistically, partner with independent marketers and build refinery here in Nigeria. Now that the government has been, the business has been liberalized. So the effect of smuggling had a lot to do with our economy. Because at that time, we were importing this petroleum product and subsidizing it. Most neighboring countries in Nigeria, within Nigeria, are enjoying that largesse of subsidy. And now, they are no longer patronizing smugglers. The product is almost at the same cost in their own country. And there is one significant thing, like I said earlier on, that this price is going to come down. When we import petroleum products, you will see the prices of vessels skyrocket. To get a vessel to bring petroleum products, these are the vessels, 20 MT, 10 MT that we are taking around 90-something million naira. They started charging 250 million. Now that Dangote is here, nobody is patronizing those people that have those vessels. We are trucking our products because it is becoming even more cheaper to truck our product through routes to our filling station than using vessel, because a lot of bottlenecks of moving petroleum products through the sea to all our neighboring states from Dangote refinery. So marketers have geared up towards getting a number of trucks, taking it to Dangote and truck to their filling stations in a more cheaper way. And if government can be able to repair the pipelines so that depots can be able to pump this petroleum product from their own location to a different location at a very minimal cost of 20 kobo, 10 kobo. Instead of using 50 naira or 60 naira, 70 naira to truck our petroleum product from Ilejupeki to Port Harcourt or to Kaduna or to Katsina. So these are the factors that the federal government in this revision period to put in place to ensure that the price of petroleum product will definitely hit 500. I also want to tell you that most of the things that are making this petroleum product go high is transportation and logistics.
Transportation and logistics. But I have to ask you, let me come to you, Ms. Onoa, and then just ask you, is 500 naira a tall ask, given the variables that, which most importantly, logistics and security, is it a tall ask for this industry, just giving 1 year or a year and a half into decentralization of our oil and gas sector?
Well, we're within the short period of time, from 1,300, we are now at 800 or something there.
Sorry, Mr. Okedike, just a second, Mr. Okedike.
Within a short period of time, product will get to 1,000 naira.
Right.
Now, that's from...
Mr. Okedike, just a second. I wanted Ms. Onoa to take a hit at that question before yourself.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. It's not a tall order, but even if you...
So Noah, you seem to have an issues with your connectivity there. We'll let Mr. Okedike take a go at that question, and then we'll try to fix your connectivity. Mr. Okedike, you have the floor.
Yeah, these are projections with the computation and the variables within us. Because for every independent marketer, we're always trying to look at the best way to be able to get petroleum products in a more cheaper way to our filling stations. And I have said one before, the government should look at the pipeline. Once these pipelines are good, once the roads are good, we will find out products will land their destination in a faster time and also in a cheaper rate. So it is something. It's something that can be worked out within a period of time. Now there is contents of demand and supply that determines a price. Dangote has cried out he has 500 million liters of petroleum product in his tank, and he wants investors. He wants people that will come and remove those products from his tank so that he can be able to free billions of naira that is stuck in there. So the best thing is for him to look at the prices. Now he has looked at the price and brought out this price to 899 naira. And within a short period of time, whatever the farmer will start cracking PMS. NNPC will also look at the prices of Dangote and see whether they can go down. We independent marketers, we are ready to buy where it's cheap. Once it's cheap in Dangote, we'll buy. If it's cheap in NNPC, we'll buy. Our interest is to ensure that our marketers, our promoters will continue to patronize us at any given time on a lower prices. Do you know now that we are even selling lower than NNPCL? Most of our marketers are now selling lower. NNPCL filling stations are scanty. You will see that promoters are now patronizing independent marketers. All those long queues, all those Jericho queues that are in NNPC, all of them have disappeared within a short period of time. So availability will determine the dwindling of the price. Once there is availability, once these refineries are working, day in, day night, there will be surplus products, there will be surplus supply. And once there is surplus supply, the price will tilt a little so that everybody who wants to compete in the market will continue to stay aloof and have the good patronage.
Let's see if Mr. Nachi is back. Mr. Nachi, if you're there, you could take your go at that question now.
Okay. What I was saying is our ability to look at the fundamentals. When Okedike talk about the logistics is a constant term in the equations of this product movement. I really want NNPC. If you recall very well, there's a template for importation NNPC used to brandish their sales, which shows the various costs about it. And let's look at that cost and look at what has been eliminated by the local refineries, by Dangote being producing, and by selling in Naira and buying in Naira. We will be able to tell ourselves what the real cost. The ordinary man should be getting this. If you recall very well, in that template, you will see there were calls for daughter vessels movement. It no longer exists. There were calls for trucking, which also still exists. There were different calls for exchange rate. Exchange rate no longer exists. How has this been reflected in the real cost of what people are buying today? So yes, the price can drop as much as we can, but we should also recollect where the price started rising from. Can we get back to that level? That's the question, and which is a possibility, a very high possibility. Some years back, maybe a year or two back, you remember NNPC would tell us total consumption was 75 million. Now we are hearing consumption about 41 million. So what has changed? You have about 34 million consumption vanished in the system, which is the reality of the fact. Now, how has that affected the price? Which I said I compared them to give us clear data on their demand pool effects on the supply end of it.
Now, Mr. Nachi, before you go on, Mr. Nachi, I wanted to add another factor. Note that since the price hiked to over 1,000 naira, we've had a steady supply of PMS. Now, I'm wondering if the price was to go down back to 500 naira, would we still have that availability that we've enjoyed through December, which we just enjoyed the 1 December in a very long time where we had no fuel scarcity? Would the situation still be the same? Mr. Nachi, please.
Okay, the situation will still be the same. I can give you that. The scarcities you see most times are man-made, intentionally created. And I'll give you scenarios of the scarcities. A typical scarcity that normally occur in Nigeria is when, a typical one is when the independent marketers were the part of the importers. When they import and they don't get their subsidy clearance from NNPC, so they withhold their reserve until their debt is cleared. That creates scarcity. Now, another form that creates scarcity, when you import and there is an LC that you have to open to enable you pay who you're importing from, that part has been clear. So the factors that create those scarcities is gradually being removed completely, because that is why we have this supply surplus that we had. If those factors are still in place, we are still going to have that. So whether the price will reduce because we are producing locally, the scarcity will vanish away because we are producing locally. So the effort is to focus on this local production. And also, since federal government has initiated this, can they make it constant where the trade of it is in Naira? And I'll tell you that the trade of it is in Naira. Some of vessels owners in Nigeria, most of them, let me not just say some of them, are still charging in USD. For you to use their daughter vessels to move from one waterway to the other waterway, they are still charging in USD. This transaction, the moment we envelope and circle this transaction for it to be operated in our local currency, then we are safe. Because I see no reason why people will be doing transaction in Nigeria and you are being mandated to pay in dollars. Even during the time of the importation, as the man there, the Nigerian Port Authority will ask you to pay some of their fees in dollars. The custom will ask you to pay some of their fees in dollars. How? In the country, and your government agency collecting revenue for governments. How does that work? So the ability, because I'm speaking directly to those in government today, the ability to make sure every aspect of our oil and gas industry that is localized here should allow the transaction should be in Naira. If you go back and even check maybe gas purchase agreement, gas transportation agreement, they're all domiciled in dollar. Why? There's a question. Nobody can give an answer about it because of that. So in my take, yes, the supply, once the local production is high, will continue. The scarcity will vanish because the factors that make those scarcity available has been taken care of. And we have a huge market. A country of over 200 million is not a joke. It's a market anybody wants to bid to. Nobody can deceive you about that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Gentlemen, I must say thank you because we're pretty much out of time. This has been quite an insightful discussion. We hope that the price will reduce, maybe not to 500, but a price drop will still be nice, given the small pennies or small kobos that have been removed from the general price. We've been asked to, I mean, just for my final question for you gentlemen, and I'm going to start with you, Mr. Onoha, and just ask about the economics of this, since, I mean, I was leading towards that. If there's a price cut, what would it mean for the overall inflationary number, and prices of commodities, given the the cost of living crisis that we have been tackling in the last 1 year with our economy?
If we go by the principles of economics, one would expect once there's a drop in the price, that the price of all affected goods will also drop. You're expecting the food inflation to have effect on it because the logistics of moving the food from the farm to the factories and from factories to the market and everything will also affect. We also expect that the transportation cost of movement, even the aviation fuel, and also because once the production goes high, the aviation industry is about to get the aviation fuel lesser than that, and other things will fall in place. One, ordinarily from the principle of economics, will expect a drop, but bearing the factors of Nigerian consumption behaviors and marketers' behaviors, I don't know how long it will take for the effect to begin to effect, because some of them will claim, oh, the goods we have now are the goods we transported 3 months ago, 6 months ago, it will come effect. So we have to give a time frame for the effect to, but definitely it should have an effect on a positive direction for the consumers.
Let's come to Mr. Chinedu now. I want us to retroactively look at subsidy now. And I'm wondering, if the price does in fact come to 500 naira, does this implicate or substantiate the subsidy claim? As many have said that subsidy was a scam, would it actually substantiate that claim that it was? Because if the price is at 500 naira, and the math doesn't add up. Mr. Ukadike Chinedu, please, what do you think?
Well, I don't think subsidy was a scam because of the energy security and economic stability. Government was doing all this possible best to ensure that petroleum product is being delivered to Nigerians, to ensure that there will not be what we call galloping inflation. So that's a policy of government. Maybe they decided not to, let people know that this when the state of subsidy has been removed, and we also find out that the backdrop of government, they were still subsidizing this petroleum product because what is the landing cost of PMS in Nigeria at that time was not actually the landing cost of PMS. If you put all the variables from the international market to our filling station. But it is also pertinent at this point that Nigeria should understand that we have to face the reality. Because I remember when Okenjiwala said that if we continue to subsidize petroleum product, that subsidy is a monster that is going to eat up the economy of Nigeria, and a lot of things have skyrocketed. And now that this thing has been reversed and Nigerians are facing it, now for me, I also believe that that drilling competition will be able to bring us to the realistic market what petroleum product ought to be in terms of the refining cost and the crude oil exchange international, and also the production rate. So all these things put together. I also believe that deregulation is here, and we in the market as we are ready to face it. I've done all we can to be able to ensure that we are confronting the factors of deregulation, both finance, both logistics, both storage, and all the rest of them. So I don't believe that that issue of saying that subsidy is a scam. It's a kind of a palliative way. Government wanted to maintain economic stability and energy security.
Well, I mean, gentlemen, thank you so much for just this insight. It's been we do hope for a broader. We do hope that this price projection will materialize, if not for anything, at least for the sake of the everyday Nigerians. And with the telecoms now asking for a 100% increase on tariffs, Nigerians need a reprieve one way or the other. But gentlemen, thank you so much. Onoha Nachi. He gave us a bit of insight on economics there. He's the CEO of TTL Global. And we also had Mr. Chinedu Ukadike, who is the Publicity Secretary, National Publicity Secretary for IPMAN. Once again, gentlemen, many thanks. And here's where we draw the curtain for this conversation, go on a short break. When we come back on this time, it's going to be about, we're going to be making it dirty with Detty December after the break.
I'm very curious why you choose Detty as the word instead of Detty.
Detty, yeah.
Well, I know it's from that track from back in the day. Who was it again? It was
Sean Paul now.
Sean Paul, yeah. Also, just in case you didn't come from that era, you wouldn't know who that was, but he was fantastic. In any case, I'll tell you something about as we look at Detty December. It was a very unique kind of December because the last time we had such a December was in 2020. Or before 2020, that's 2019. This is before the pandemic. I think this was the healthiest, in quote, December that we have had in Lagos, especially with the influx of healthy in the sense economically. Economically, not for your mental well-being because the traffic was horrible. But for the economy it was. So it had to make you wonder what exactly the potential of, taking the matrices that made that a Detty December. You got me saying it now. Made that a Detty December, and see how you can take the advantage from it and apply it to the next Decembers that we have coming. Hopefully it's just going to be better, but then again, if you could apply it to all 12 months of the year, imagine what Lagos can be. Tourism, investments, all of that. Right. It doesn't help now that we've actually taken out our beach, does it? Yeah.
Every day I say this. I volunteer at the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway as tribute to all the... Every day, if they ask me what I would give up on the altar for boarding or thing, it would be Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway.
We don't even have it yet.
Every day, twice on Sunday. Just ask me, what is the burnt offering to the gods of Lagos traffic? And I would say, I volunteer the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway as tribute. And it's time for us to get Detty right here on Breakfast Extra. It's time for that special we promised you about. It's looking at the economics for Detty December. And the month is over, Detty December, it's over. It's time for us to talk about the economics and reaping the benefits of a month-long party. Now, we're going to be taking a deep dive into the pulse of really just Nigeria's culture and the economy and the entertainment. We're talking about the phenomena that is Detty December. Now, over the holiday, which is the Christmas festivities, Lagos transformed into Africa's entertainment heartbeat. Now, it was hosting global stars. We saw them, let's see now, from Chloe to, of course, our very own African giant. We had the Davido. We also had Wizkid. There was all the Christmas parties and all the fireworks. And let's not forget Arista, of course, and my girl, Thames. They were all here, right? So there was also, of course, not to forget the one-hit wonders, the IJGBs. They were here as well. I just got back, and countless parties that stretched well into the early hours of January. So from concerts to pop-up events, the city was alive all through. And of course, we all know Lagos never sleeps, and it was alive with possibilities and economic activities. But beyond the glittering lights and thumping music lies the question, what did we gain as a nation?
We're going to find that out as we unpack this Detty or Detty December, according to Judith. There was a post by Kayode Omosebi on Twitter which highlighted and gave some stats on exactly how much was spent when it comes to nightclubs and hotels, and the amounts are staggering, if I do say so myself. But joining us right here in the studio, we're being joined by, let's see now, Sukanmi Oguni, founder and chief storyteller of Lagos Weekend, who has her finger firmly on the cultural pulse of Lagos. You're welcome. Good to have you here.
Thank you.
Good to finally meet you.
Beautiful, looking beautiful on a Saturday morning.
I want to know, how was your December?
Ooh.
Facial expression tells you it all.
Are you joking, man? This lady is, Sukom, I have to give it to you. To be able to do that every other night and build a team and build that brand. I've been following since, 2018? It's a long time coming, and I must say, well done so far.
Thank you.
And 6 years down the line, congratulations. 7 years down the line now, congratulations on a job well done.
Thank you.
And Detty December must have been tasking for you guys. Talk to me about
it was. Thank you for having me, guys. It was definitely a lot. I mean, there were the concerts which we were present at. There were the raves, the nightlife, the nightclubs. I mean, and we tried to touch each and every of these pillars across the hospitality and tourism space. So it was a lot, I would say, but it was fun.
Of course,
it was fun. It was definitely fun.
That's the idea.
And not just fun, but also the attention is now bigger than ever. You know, I mean, every single year the popularity of Detty December continues to grow, but this year took a different turn of its own to the point where Forbes Africa has now named Lagos the Africa's entertainment, center.
Yeah,
right.
definitely.
And so destination to be, and just opposing it across to Accra, our neighbors who also have their own Detty December. How is it like? Because I don't know that you guys also went to Accra as well.
Yes,
so talk to me about.
I think that, first of all, Lagos is a very vibrant city, and I'm really excited about the attention that we're getting now. I mean, we've always had that, festive experiences.
Exactly.
There's always that, right? But I mean, obviously, this year has been extraordinary.
Right.
I think it's been long coming. There's been a build-up of different things that has then culminated to this moment that we're at now. I think in terms of comparing Lagos and Accra, obviously, Lagos is the biggest city, so we can't compare. Again, this is the home of Afrobeats as well, so we need to consider that, and I think that that's like a huge factor to why we're getting this attention we're getting right now. Music and entertainment and nightlife, they go hand in hand, so I mean, I'm really excited that we're getting that attention now.
Judith, I want to draw attention to Kayode Omoshebi's post here, where there was a couple of stats regarding nightlife. Let me see if I can scroll down to nightclubs. They took a survey of all the nightclubs in Lagos and the estimated market, and how much was spent at these nightclubs. And the resulting amount is staggering. Apparently, Lagosians and the IJGBs spent about 21,600,000,000 naira this Detty December. Now, my question is, with the potential that this seems to have when it comes to people flowing into Lagos, especially in December, what can we take away from the economics of it that we could apply, and this is talking to the government as well, that could be applied across the entire year, from January to December? I'm talking about the tourism potential that Lagos holds, seeing what December is every single year.
Actually, I'm not very surprised at the results. I think that this city is a very energetic one. The nightlife space, particularly, is very attractive. There's a lot going on there. And I think that this is the time for the government and even the private sector to put the right resources in place, the right infrastructure in place. I think that this year we were a bit reactive and not proactive. And we need to be more proactive, in terms of transportation, accommodation, the healthcare.
Who are you speaking to now? Are you talking which authorities?
I think mostly the government. I mean, obviously, they're the ones in charge of the infrastructure. But I mean, for the private sector as well, if you're a business owner, you know that you need to, prepare towards December and make sure that you're setting things in place to take advantage of that, that whole season. But for the government, I definitely think that we need to be more proactive. I mean, we saw the traffic in December. It was a lot.
That was
I mean, there's already a lot of people in Lagos, and then imagine more people coming into the city. So you can imagine how much traffic there will be. But I think it's time for the government to really rise up to this and take proactive steps.
What were they coming in for exactly? And my question, I need you to understand this question now. How can we replicate it so that it's a constant thing? We don't have a beach line anymore, so that's gone. What were they coming to do?
I know, very, very interesting question. I think that there were a couple of things, right? I think, first of all, we've already established our destination, especially when it comes to entertainment, right? A lot of people want to experience Afrobeats in itself. Yes. I mean, in the diaspora, you don't get a lot of that experience like that. It's like one-off. You don't walk into a club and then see Burna Boy. You don't want to walk into an event and see Whiskey. That's not something that happens in the diaspora. But in Lagos, you walk into Obi's house, there is Tyler, there's Thames, there's there's all of the global superstars. So people want to experience that. They want to see that.
That's very close to the stars.
Exactly. And I think that there's been a lot of migration recently as well. A lot of people left the country. They want to feel home. Home again. So they want to come back and just it's like a drug of some sort.
The entertainment is beautiful.
So basically,
is amazing,
it's very tied into the music culture, the entertainment culture.
Yes, exactly.
So entertainment is the one thing that we could.
Exactly. I would say specifically Afrobeats, because I mean, Afrobeats is getting like global grounds. We have the artists in Nigeria winning Grammys. So I mean, we have that global appeal already, right? And it's just for us to expand and take advantage of it.
Yeah, I mean, not just the nightlife. Also, one of the things when people are coming in, they also need a place to stay.
Yeah.
And we also saw the stats, for which really just opened up for businesses in terms of short-let apartment, Airbnbs, and even hotels as well, and also apartment booked. The numbers of apartment books was about 1,900, and the estimated market for that was like 5,937.5. And it's crazy. The number of short-let agents were about 5,000. Let's just say occupancy rate was at 95%. 95%.
Yeah.
And the number of check-in and check-out per day was at 35. That is wild when you think about it. 35% coming in and out a day.
Yeah.
And so that's just in Lagos alone in terms of hotels, apartments, short-let, and the rest. Now we're looking at Lagos. But this thread by Kayode Omoshebi, who unfortunately was supposed to join us, but he couldn't make it for the interview, he also highlighted other spots that this IJGBs were going through, and one of them was also Southeast as well. And so as much as we're centering Lagos, I'd like to also talk about the other states as Abuja, which is the capital, Southeast, Anambra, and people who are IJGBs who are from the East who also go back home. There's also Ibadan as well on there. So Detty December wasn't just in Lagos, was it?
Exactly. I think it's very important for us not to forget the other cities. I mean, like as a brand, we've also expanded to Abuja, right? I think that this is the time for these other states to also take that opportunity. I remember that we used to have Calabar Carnival. I'm not sure if that's still...
It's still there.
Well, not like what it was.
Not like what it used to be. And that could have been a good tourist attraction for the country. So
Before
I mean,
there was Detty December, there was Carnival in Calabar. People are just thinking about talking anyhow. From that place, you should mind yourself, please. Keep going.
So I mean, Lagos is doing so well right now, but it's something for other states to learn from. Build that infrastructure. Especially we've spoken about entertainment, right? Are there concerts outside of Lagos that needs to happen? I know Aresta had a concert in Abuja. I think Rema also had a concert in Abuja. So what about other states? What about in the Southeast as well? Are there festivals that happen within that period? And I think that there's also the storytelling side of things. These things might happen in those cities, but we don't know about it because the stories have not been told. So I think there's also like a lot of work that government in those states needs to do in terms of just telling the story of what they have. I think that's what Lagos has done beautiful well.
Yeah, I mean, sustainability is fantastic when it comes to storytelling aids sustainability, right? But let's also take a look at something that's, that might hinder sustainability, and that is security. It is top on the agenda, right? As much as there are good stories of people who are enjoying themselves, there's also stories of those who were, mobbed on the way. There's also the story of kidnappings, in the Southeast. There's also a lot that is happening with that. So I would ask about recommendations regarding, sustainability when it comes to security. But also there's also been skepticism about the numbers that have been put out. A lot of people on Twitter and X are saying that the numbers are not true, that we're just throwing out numbers. And do you believe this number? Have you looked at the numbers?
Yeah,
are they true? Do you think that they are close to hitting the mark? 95% check-in and out occupancy.
I think it's either accurate or over-accurate, if I can say that.
Why do you say
less.
Because we're smack in the middle of the ecosystem, and I see how places are booked out every time. In fact, most of the hotels, the top hotels, were booked out.
I mean, I hate you for something.
Everybody was booked out. I mean, especially if you're providing great service, people know that, right? So I would say that is correct. The data is correct.
The data is correct.
If not, even like more than that.
Definitely nothing less.
I don't think it's anything less. I don't think, and I'm speaking from experience.
Security then.
Yes. In terms of security, I think that obviously government needs to do better. There are other sides to the infrastructure that needs to also be upgraded, like the beach line that you mentioned as well. Those are things that we need to give considerations to, right? Especially in future as we go into 2025. Yeah.
And I mean, there's also other attractions that we also need to discuss. I'm sorry to cut you.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Other attractions that need to be discussed besides the nightlife, you know, because and the parties, you know, and the dirty and the strip clubs. And Mazula, did you see the money that was spent in adult entertainment on that thread?
I was well, you talk about it.
Why? We need to also consider that.
Can there be other side attractions besides just party and nightlife and the JOB's house, which are, you know, Mondays, you know what I mean? Like,
But they spent a lot of money at these kinds of establishments.
Yeah.
Are they a major attraction in Lagos? Is this something that we've always had, or did it just start? And how much of an effect did the coronavirus in 2020 have? Because we were way on our way to actually having these kinds of Decembers.
Before, yeah.
Way back in 2019, and then the virus came through, and then we couldn't. So, I mean,
I think one thing we need to pay attention to is the fact that, you know, like you mentioned, IGGBs, they're spending FX. They're not spending Naira. So there's more purchasing power from their own side of things. So I think that's one of the factors to why, you know, maybe the nightclubs made a lot of money. I would also say that nightlife in Lagos right now is taking a whole different dimension. It's not what you used to be before. I would also say, I mean, Time Out listed us as, you know, one of the top countries for nightlife in the world.
Yeah.
So, and you know, if you go to other cities in the world, we're getting to that. We're matching the standards, right? We are, because I mean the side attractions.
That's
exciting.
it's almost like Ibiza back again.
I'm telling you, it's exciting, and there's always
a
a new place. There's always something different. There's always something unique, and that just adds to the experience.
What are the ancillary economics around these side attractions? Let's say it's a concert, for instance. What other businesses around that one main attraction exists?
I think that we should look at the entire value chain of, you know, the hospitality industry. There's people who are providing different services across the value chain, right? So like you mentioned the concert, there's people who are providing the production, doing the production, doing the stage, doing the screens, doing the sounds. There are people that are providing, you know, food. There are people that are providing security, and all of these people across this value chain, there are opportunities. These are opportunities for us to explore, right? We're creating job opportunities, and I think that is something that, you know, needs to be expanded. I'm not sure that we've really like explored the different opportunities across that value chain. Yeah, but I would say like very important for us to pay attention to that.
Yeah. So look, again, besides the nightlife, besides the concert, you have seen the stats, right? And you are in the thick of it.
Yeah.
What other attractions need to be built on? Is it our art and craft? Is it our museum? Is it our, what other thing? Because
adult entertainment.
Is it,
because it's a money spinner.
Because I mean, there are money spinners, but there has to be more. You know what I mean? Like there has to be more.
I won't lie.
There has to be more.
Regulated.
Yes.
Because also we need to think about the fact that not everybody has the purchasing power for nightlife establishments. So people are looking for, because we had a lot of people reach out and say, look, I'm looking for something fun to do, but within my budget.
Right?
So I mean, I can't take it 10,000.
There are also agents as well who can put together these experiences for people.
Exactly.
So what other attractions need to be, besides just the nightlife, you know, for I mean, there's still the very religious crowd. There's also IGGB that's coming back and they want to go for the JOB's house or want to go to the clubs or the adult entertainment, and they want to do daytime activities as well.
Exactly. I think that first of all, the beaches, right? That used to be.
That used to be a thing.
That used to be like something that, you know, was easy for people to access, but we need to bring it back.
I volunteer that as tribute. I say it again.
If there's any way that we can, Lagos has a beautiful coastal line. We can't just let that go. When we had Landmark, it was very impactful. We saw the number of people that went there every weekend. So I think beaches, we need to really, really like explore that. I think more water activities actually would also help. And making them affordable and accessible is very important for us to do. I think there's a lot of fun activities already existing in Lagos, but there's still more that we can do. I mean, there's zorbing, there is kayaking, there is paintballing and all of that. So, I mean, but there's a lot more that we can introduce. And this is the time for people in the private sector to really, come and invest in the tourism and hospitality sector.
Right.
I think there's a lot, we need to, call this investments in.
What about other states as well?
I dare say that there's one aspect we're not looking at, and this is gonna surprise you. But in December and in the early week of January, it is noted that religious organizations take advantage to either end the year with big services that offer prayer. Well, you talk about it.
Why? We need to also consider that.
Could there be other side attractions besides just party and nightlife and the JOB's house, which are, Mondays, I mean, like,
they spent a lot of money at these kinds of establishments.
Yeah.
Are they a major attraction in Lagos? Is this something that we've always had, or did it just start? And how much of an effect did the coronavirus in 2020 have? Because we were way on our way to actually having these kinds of Decembers.
Before, yeah.
Way back in 2019, and then the virus came through, and then we couldn't. So, I mean,
I think one thing we need to pay attention to is the fact that, like you mentioned, IGGBs, they're spending effects. They're not spending naira. There's more purchasing power from their own side of things. So I think that's one of the factors to why, maybe the nightclubs made a lot of money. I would also say that nightlife in Lagos right now is taking a whole different dimension. It's not what you used to be before. I would also say, Time Out listed us as, one of the top countries for nightlife in the world.
Yeah.
So, and if you go to other cities in the world, we're getting to that. We're matching the standards, right? We are, because the side attractions
that's
exciting.
it's almost like Ibiza back again.
I'm telling you, it's exciting. And there's always
a
a new place. There's always something different. There's always something unique, and that just adds to the experience.
What are the ancillary economics around these side attractions? Let's say it's a concert, for instance. What other businesses around that one main attraction exists?
I think that we should look at the entire value chain of, the hospitality industry. There's people who are providing different services across the value chain, right? So like you mentioned the concert, there's people who are providing the production, doing the production, doing the stage, doing the screens, doing the sounds. There are people that are providing, food. There are people that are providing security, and all of these people across this value chain, there are opportunities. These are opportunities for us to explore, right? We're creating job opportunities, and I think that is something that needs to be expanded. I'm not sure that we've really explored the different opportunities across that value chain. Yeah, but I would say very important for us to pay attention to that.
Yeah. So look, again, besides the nightlife, besides the concert, you have seen the stats, right? And you are in the thick of it.
Yeah.
What other attractions need to be built on? Is it our art and craft? Is it our museum? Is it our, what other thing? Because
adult entertainment.
Is it,
because it's a money spinner.
Because there are money spinners, but there has to be more. You know what I mean? Like there has to be more.
I won't lie.
There has to be more.
Regulated.
Yes.
Because also we need to think about the fact that not everybody has the purchasing power for nightlife establishments.
Yeah.
So people are looking for, because we had a lot of people reach out and say, look, I'm looking for something fun to do, but within my budget.
Yeah,
right?
So
I can't take $10,000.
There are also agents as well who can put together these experiences for people.
Exactly.
So what other attractions need to be besides just the nightlife? For there's still the very religious crowd. There's also IGGB that's coming back and they want to go for the Jobi's house or want to go to the clubs or the adult entertainment, and they want to do daytime activities as well.
Exactly. I think that first of all, the beaches, right? That used to be.
a thing.
That used to be like something that was easy for people to access, but we need to bring it back.
I volunteer that as tribute. I say it again.
If there's any way that we can, Lagos has a beautiful coastal line. We can't just let that go. When we had Landmark, it was very impactful. We saw the number of people that went there every weekend. So I think beaches, we need to really, really explore that. I think more water activities actually would also help. And making them affordable and accessible is very important for us to do. I think there's a lot of fun activities already existing in Lagos, but there's still more that we can do. There's zorbing, there is kayaking, there is paintballing and all of that. So, but there's a lot more that we can introduce. And this is the time for people in the private sector to really, come and invest in the tourism and hospitality sector.
Right.
I think there's a lot, we need to, call this investments in.
What about other states as well?
I dare say that there's one aspect we're not looking at, and this is gonna surprise you. But in December and in the early week of January, it is noted that religious organizations take advantage to either end the year with big services that offer prayers of thanks or prayers of, even before the crossover. You have plenty of people,
religious concerts
exactly, and all of that. So that's also another opportunity. And when you think about this, most of these happen late in the evening or all through the night. There's a security implication, there's transportation implication, there's all of that. So how about a look at these needs that these industries, that I call it the church industry, actually need, because it is an industry today, like we can have that conversation another day. But they also need these services as well, whether it's food, transportation, security, and all. What do you say to these?
Yeah, I think you're correct. I mean, events like the Experience will hundreds of thousands of people, right?
From across Nigeria, not just Lagos.
Exactly. Even in Abuja, I think there was another Christian event, a crossover event that I know quite a couple of people that came from diaspora that attended the event. I think it's also important for us to look into, the religious activities that happen around that period. I mean, we're a very religious country, so people give considerations to things like that.
It's very interesting. I mean, and then to decenter Lagos, because every single day, I think that one of my life goals this year is to pretty much to decenter Lagos. You know what I mean? I feel like, because I feel like other states also need to buy into this Detty December. And you are a curator of our tourism and hospitality sector. You've been telling stories and platforming this enterprises. What would you say to those states who want to buy and who should be looking to buy?
Storytelling. I mean, spotlight the things that are, the attractions in your city. Those things are very important. In Akwa Ibom State, they have beaches as well. Really, there's Ibeno Beach there. In Imo State, there's a huge water park there as well. There's also this, I think it's a river, Ethiopia River in Delta State. So all of those places need to be spotlighted more.
As well.
Right. What is the government really doing to, pushing that out there, a lot more for people to see that it's existing?
Right.
I mean, obviously, I know that one of the limitations for people to explore those areas is security, like you said. It's security, like you said. I mean, you think twice before you get on the road to go to like a Delta state, right? And I mean, this is the right time to call on. I think if all this infrastructure are in place, there's no limit to where we can go when it comes to tourism and hospitality in Nigeria as a whole.
I think it's very important. And I mean, lastly, before I let you go, what was the most fun experience for you for Detty December?
Personally, I'm a concert person. I love concerts. So I would say the concerts, say Flight and Fest, because we had the opportunity to experience all of the top global superstars and international stars like Ghana, Tyler, just watching them do the thing, I don't know, it excites me. So for me, I would say like, that's the number one thing. I think for a lot of people, they wouldn't, I'm not sure a lot of people would re-echo what I said. I think more people want maybe like the raves. They probably enjoy the raves or trying new restaurants.
That's something. That's up my alley.
I know.
Right there.
I think that's up, and there were lots of new restaurants opening up, in Lagos, a lot.
Goodness.
We haven't even finished exploring all of it. So I can imagine, I do know that a lot of people can relate with trying new restaurants.
I'm wondering, as a curator of these events and all these little experiences, which one of them stands out? And also note that there are some of them that are dying off. I will give you a very good example.
Please.
A couple of years ago, just before the coronavirus hit, we used to have a very big comedy industry. It still is big, however, not as big as what it was when you look at stand-up. So what might be responsible for the death of some of these big attractions and the growth of others? Afrobeat for music and the international push that our artists are giving the Nigerian brand, and that's great. People want to come back here and see them firsthand. But when it comes to comedy, do you think that we fared badly in Nigeria in December?
I want to say something so
I will let you go ahead and say before she answers. Before she answers, go ahead.
Let her answer. Let her answer first.
Go ahead. Do you think that some of these units of entertainment are dying off, and what's responsible?
I think this is a very deep conversation.
Yeah, I know. It goes into so many different little...
Yes, because first of all, I mean, you need to look at the comedy industry in itself. What is the structure like? Do they have that structure? I feel like music is probably...
Do they have cabals?
You know, maybe, I don't know. You know, have they put that structure in place for their industry to thrive, regardless of the challenges? And I think that's something that the music industry has successfully done, right? I mean, you can see the Maven records, for instance. We have labels that are, you know, structured, that are properly put together. The comedy industry, I'm not so sure they have something like that. So I think that for those other experiences, they need to get their acts together really and really fast. Coronavirus, I would say, was a huge opportunity. A lot of people would have seen it as, maybe a challenge, but I saw it as an opportunity, because by the time the world opened up, it was the guys that were strategically positioned that took advantage of it. And the ones that, they just relaxed because of coronavirus, they didn't know, if they were uncertain about things, they were the ones that, got pushed away or pushed out, right? But if you're operating in an industry that has, proper structure put in place, I'm not sure that should affect you much. You should be able to project and see these things and take advantage of it.
So I'm gonna piggyback off what you said, because you really hit the nail on the head. Structuring their sector, but most importantly, if you look at the comedians in the US and the UK, the ones who are comedians and who are at their A game do not perform at any chance. They have their specials, they have their performance nights, they have times where they really go back and they craft their game and they come back, they do their comeback. They take the business seriously.
Seriously, yes.
What these other comedians are doing instead are doing cheap jokes. They're not funny, they're not intellectual, doesn't get you to actually sit down and think. That's one. Two, they think that they are skit makers. You know what I mean? Like, they think that they are skit makers. And so the skit makers who are actually funny are there. Those guys are acts, they are acts. But when you're a comedian, you have to go back, improve on your writing skill, understand that I am a brand as a person, and so I have to start to think about platforms that I want to do my comedy. I want to see a Basket Mouse special on Netflix.
No, well, I think he's.
Do you know what I mean? I think Basket Mouse has really done really well. And there's that standard that needs to be created.
Take it away from Netflix and bring it back into the application for tourism or attractions here in Nigeria. Not just in December, but all through the year. So how has comedy or the lack of it played in?
They haven't improved on their material. I'm going to say it again. They haven't improved on their material. They have cheapened the material. They have dumbed it down so much. And also, they think that they are and this is not to say don't diversify, don't put yourself in a box. Diversify, not to box you all. But if you're a comedian, please improve on your act. Please improve on your material and also build on that brand. That's what I'm going to say.
So comedy wasn't an attraction this December, was it?
Because I'm not very certain. Because the truth is,
it's a global stage. Yes. It's a global audience you're entertaining.
And we used to have it, like you said. Yeah. I think the only one major comedy show we had was Ali Baba's show.
Which is consistent.
Which has been really consistent. I think also consistency is also very important. There's the comedians that you see them today, tomorrow you don't hear of them, or next tomorrow they've relocated. So there's all of those different factors.
And if you attended the January 1st one, look, I adore Ali Baba, no question.
Oh no! Don't do it, Judith.
Okay, so
don't do it.
Let's remove Ali Baba. If you've been to any of the comedy shows, before the main act comes out, it is wildly insane that you're coming out at 3, 4 a.m. in the morning.
So let's talk about culture.
And then, so that's why I said that. So you are bringing all this up and coming that I don't know about, that the material is whack, for lack of a better word, and I'm being very nice. It is whack. You're bringing, and I get you need to platform these people, but maybe do it at a comedy club. Not on a
which are existing.
These are existing.
We have comedy clubs.
And then he does this thing.
I think that the new cats, if I can say that, are the ones that I would say has that opportunity. They have the opportunity to help that comedy industry. The new guys.
To package it.
Yes. Because they're more. Yeah, exactly. Because I think that they're more exposed. They're also building because I know about a comedy club. I think it's called I can't remember what it's called now, but there's a comedy thing that happens at one of the lounges in Lagos.
Yeah.
And I see lots of young comedians there, putting in effort. And I think that if they can come together and create standards for that industry, I mean, they can compete with the music.
Okay, so let's talk about when all the music stops, when all the roads are littered with red cups and all of that. Let's talk about January and the vacuum that is created.
Is that
the debt,
the dry January.
the dryness and everything. What does Lagos, or in your experience, what does Nigeria go through during these months that takes a very sharp, steep dip in economics, in the economy of entertainment?
I think a smart business person would know that January isn't,
popping is
exactly.
December.
So it just takes planning
90
ahead.
days long.
You have to project. You already know that. Look, do your plus and minus, right? I think that a smart business person should know to do that. You don't put all your
eggs in December.
In one basket, yes. If not, you want to run your business to the ground, right? But I mean, regardless, there's still, I think some IJGBs are even still around though. So there's still some little festivities happening. Like in the beginning, the first 2 weeks of January.
So there's still that effect way into
it
January.
still trickles into, of course. There's people that came in like at the end of December. So you can still, pluck some of those opportunities and those people well into mid-January.
In plucking those opportunities, the small businesses that actually thrived in December and January, what could they do to maintain at least just a little bit of that pool? Even if the IGGBs are gone, the local market, what do they need to do to maintain that glitz and glamour of December?
I think it's just regular engagement, right? At the end of the day, the IGGBs will leave. So it's just going to be us and your business, right? And that's the reason why, I mean, you notice that in December, you'd hear like, this restaurant didn't do this, or they were fully booked, or so because I mean obviously like there's that influx already, but a good business person would know that at the end of the day it's your loyal customers, the ones that are here, that keep you in business, right? So you need to continue to engage them consistently. I mean, make them happy. Customer service is very important as well. I think that's something that you need to consider through the rest of the year.
If there's one thing that hit me hard during this Detty December is that the foundational Lagosians like ourselves,
we didn't get to do.
We didn't get to do anything. It's like they relegated us to the side. It's like go and sleep, And it's like as you're driving, as you're going about it, it's like get out of my city.
And then your friends that they're from the IGGBs, they call you and say, oh, let's go out. And like,
where do you want
working?
No, so I mean, for foundational, Lagosians, I saw somebody on Twitter was saying that I think that coming into December for this year, 2025, Detty December for 2025, season 2025, anyone who's foundational Lagosian should start start pushing for remote work and leaving Lagos.
Right.
Do you take that advice?
I would say that. I would say that because the traffic is not funny. Look, it's not funny. And I think that we've curated, Detty December has now become more a tourist thing rather, I mean, obviously Lagosians can take advantage of it, but I would say primarily it's driven by tourists. So, I mean, I'm not complaining, to be honest. What you can do is take advantage of it and ask yourself, what service can I offer this tourist, right? That can make me money, right? I think that's something you need to consider. And if you're not making money, maybe you should.
I like when you say that, but then that creates a vacuum because if your business is structured to service tourists, what happens after they're gone in February? Now, there are businesses in Lagos, and I can tell you one down the road, the Shrine is always full every single Thursday and Friday. So what can they do?
Sundays?
And Sundays as well.
Sundays.
So I'm wondering what Lagosians can do that could be a replica of what the Shrine does in Femi Kuti, and that's fantastic service that they give, that could maintain that influx of people, foundational Lagosians, that could keep these businesses going. I don't know what it might be, but they are doing something right. But what is it that could be applied to every kind of, whether entertainment or cultural business?
I mean, New Africa Shrine is a legacy on its own.
That is it.
So I don't expect anything less. Right, it's not the place that you'd go and maybe everything is like lush and glamorous. No, it's very
very Shrine.
Very homegrown. You can say that. So you know that it's not about the ambience or anything. It's about the music, the real essence of what they are providing. Exactly. And that's when you go there, you can feel it. right? But again, you know, there's also the legacy that fell out, you know, at Butte in the past. So I think for other businesses, like I said before, customer service is very important. I think that's one thing we're lacking in this industry. In tourism, hospitality, you'd see people talk about it every time. Even the IJGBs that came, they kind of complain about the service. I think we need to pay attention to that, and that would help you sustain, you know, that customers. I only go to places where I feel like I get served well. I feel welcome. I feel like it's warm.
I got my spots.
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, when you go somewhere you don't have a great experience, you don't want to go back there, right? And you and I are the loyal customers. We're the ones that the businesses should be looking out for. They need to take care of us. They need to, you know, make us feel like, you know, we're important, right? At the end of the day, even when the IJGBs are gone, we're still the ones that will go back and patronize them. So make it worth our while as much as you can throughout the year. In fact, we'll be the ones to tell the IJGBs, you need to try this spot.
And I see. Thank you for saying that, right? Because it's all thanks to the get ready with me or I tried out, you know, come with me. They are the ones who actually has helped, you know, propel this, the industry and this brand so much so that those who are on TikTok and all social media seeing those videos bookmark all the places they need to be at. You know, come with me as I try out linguine in this restaurant.
I think Judith just found what her next job will be. She will be a December guide for next Detty December.
Listen,
because she's going to be curating the spots to get to.
You need to try this menu and this restaurant.
And you get paid for it. That's a good
like
one.
that.
So from what you said, what I've realized is that if I'm going to make a business that's healthy all year round, irrespective of Detty December or January, is going to have something to do with heritage, culture, service, and entertainment. I hope they're taking notes because we just gave you the formula for 2025.
And the fashion industry also.
Oh, did we not talk about fashion?
We didn't talk about. Because when you just said service, fashion industry. Look, they also made sales. The beauty sector, they did fantastically well. I mean, I saw someone saying that they had more credit alert, they had more transactions in December that they did all year round. That is wild, you know. So the IJGBs, I know I call you a one-hit wonder, but I'm really sorry. And I come back.
We need you in our economy at the end of the day. You're a big part of it.
They make it all very exciting.
Thank you very much for being a part of this discussion.
Thank you for having me. This was really fun.
It was fun. Indeed,
I enjoyed it.
Please come back and give us a list of all the places that we could try next time.
Definitely. You can download our guide as well. We have an e-guide that we just released with all of the best places and of course our best things to do. So
Great.
You can
all right.
download that.
Yeah, and then I mean, there's something up our sleeves here at Breakfast Extra, so get ready for that. It's going to come, all right?
All right, a beautiful morning to you, and welcome to Sports Update on Breakfast Extra. I'm Favor Itua. We begin with stories making headlines in the world of athletics, where Nigeria's 200-meter record holder, Divine Oduduru, has disclosed that he attempted suicide 4 times after receiving a 6-year ban from the Athletics Integrity Unit. Now, the ban was imposed for 2 anti-doping rule violations involving the possession and attempted use of prohibited substances. In addition, the suspension, Oduduru was ordered to pay $3,000 in expenses to World Athletics. His case stemmed from a criminal investigation into Eric Lira, a self-described naturopathic therapist from El Paso, Texas, who became the first person to plead guilty under the U.S. Rodchenkov Anti-Doping Act. Lira was found guilty of supplying performance-enhancing drugs to Olympic athletes, including Blessing Okagbare, who received an 11-year ban for her involvement. Oduduru has maintained his innocence, denying any association with Lira or that of Okagbare acted as an intermediary between them. He revealed that the situation severely impacted his mental health, leading him to attempt suicide on 4 occasions. He stated that the events were a shock after years of sacrifice in his athletic career. Oduduru plans to share his side of the story through interviews and a live Instagram session. All right, interesting times ahead for Divine Oduduru. Yes, he's not been in the sports of athletics as a result of the ban, of course, he got from the World Athletics body after he was found guilty of using prohibited substances. All right, now move on to the world of football, where Bayer Leverkusen triumphed 3-2 at the Flu, striking Borussia Dortmund on Friday, narrowing the gap to Bundesliga leaders Bayern Munich to just 1 point. Dortmund, already dealing with an injury crisis, was further weakened by illness with centre-back Emre Can and Nico Schlotterbeck. Plus, of course, left-back Rami Bensebaini ruled out hours before the match. Leverkusen took advantage of Dortmund's depleted defense, with Nigeria's Nathan Tella scoring within 25 seconds and Patrick Schick adding a brace in the first 8 minutes. Jamil Gittens pulled one back for Dortmund, but Schick's second goal restored Leverkusen's 2-goal lead. A late penalty from Sehu Girassi gave Dortmund a glimmer of hope, but Leverkusen held firm to secure their 9th consecutive win, putting pressure on Bayern Munich ahead of their match against Borussia Mönchengladbach. All right, interesting win right there for Super Eagles player Nathan Tella. Of course, we know Victor Boniface is out injured, but that's also a big win for them as they look forward to defend their title. But then they're looking forward to also get to the top of the table in the German Bundesliga. We'll now go straight to the world of tennis, where Guy Monfils became the oldest ATP singles champion in history at 38 years of age, winning the Auckland Classic final on Saturday. The Frenchman defeated Belgian qualifier Zizou Bergs 6-3, 6-4 to claim his 13th career title, surpassing Roger Federer's record as the oldest player to win an ATP final. Monfils, who won his first title in 2005, expressed pride in his victory, continuing to play high-quality tennis at an age when most players retire. Despite the hot conditions, Monfils showcased superior athleticism and skill, breaking Berg's serve early on both sets. His win lifts him 11 places to 41st in the world rankings, and he will face fellow Frenchman Giovanni Pericard in the Australian Open first round. All right, they say form is temporal, class is permanent, and that's of course the case of the man himself, talking about Guy Monfils, as he looks forward to push his form into the first Grand Slam of the year, talking about the Australian Open. And now to the world of flag football. Ahead of the national finals of the Nigerian Schools Sports Flag Football League, the Akwa Ibom State government is hoping the state's representatives can retain their title. Akwa Ibom defeated Team Abuja in the boys' final of the second edition held in Ondo State last year. 10 states, including Lagos, Ogun, Ondo, Akwa Ibom, the FCT, Oyo, Kwara, Rivers, Benue, and host Cross River will compete at this year's event, which will take place at the UJ Eswene Stadium in Calabar, and of course from the 14th to the 16th of January. Akwa Ibom State is being represented by the students of Community Commercial Secondary School, ITAM. Ahead of their departure for Calabar, the team was hosted by the chairman of the Akwa Ibom State Secondary Education Board, that's Honorable Ekaite Ubong, who charged them to defend the state's honor. All right, interesting sports right there. Flag football taking the world by storm, especially in Nigeria. Yes, it's developing, but of course, lots of states have begun to, cultivate the habit of having it in their vicinity. Once upon a time, it was in Lagos, but now we're having it in different states. And of course, we get to see the very best of flag football. And that's it on Sports Update. And Favor Itwa, we'll take a quick break, and Breakfast Extra returns.
Now, in a landmark decision announced on January 1st, 2025, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu had officially mandated the reintroduction of history as a subject in Nigeria's primary and secondary school curriculum. This directive comes nearly 15 years after history was controversially removed in 2009, a move that many believe contributed to a cultural and intellectual void among Nigerian students. According to the Education Minister, Tahir Maman, this policy aims to restore the foundational knowledge of Nigeria's heritage, instill patriotism, and promote critical thinking among young learners. Now, the reintroduction of history will begin immediately with the Nigerian Educational Research and Development Council, NADEC, tasked with developing the updated curriculum. The government has also committed to providing resources and teacher training programs to facilitate its seamless implementation. While many educators and cultural advocates have lauded this move, some critics have questioned the government's ability to address Nigeria's existing challenges in education, ranging from dilapidated infrastructure to inadequate teacher remuneration. The question is, will the return of history bring the much-needed revitalization to the education sector, or is it just another lofty policy?
Well, we had a package put. So let's take a look at that package now, and when we come back, we'll be introducing our guest who'll be having this discussion with us.
The fight for Nigeria's independence was a milestone in the nation's history. It is a major component of Nigeria's nationhood, and succeeding generations need to have that understanding. Educators involved in transferring historical knowledge believe that reintroducing history in Nigeria's school curriculum will help young ones appreciate the nation better and understand their identity.
Our young people will now be more aware of who we are, understand our heroes, understand our monuments, our historical sites. I think that will really encourage, or I think it will change the narrative about Nigeria.
Controversies being generated by current debate over the authenticity and veracity of past events in the country tend to confirm the place of history as a veritable subject in Nigerian schools. Many Nigerians therefore see the reintroduction of history as a welcome development.
With the reintroduction, I think it is something that should be commended. And I believe that will now instill the more desired information about Nigeria. And they will now understand when they are talking about Nigeria, it will be from an enlightened perspective. And they can now say, oh, this is what happened in the past.
It will excite me if the subject, the history subject can back to school curriculum. It will help us a lot. It will help the generation a lot, even the generation unborn.
I think it will be a good idea because it will really help us, help the nation itself, help the children and the whole world entirely.
The federal government scrapped history as a core subject about 13 years ago, supposedly due to students avoiding the subject, history graduates not having job prospects, and history teachers being scarce. Experts therefore disagree with the notion, emphasizing that governments pay attention to research and development as it helps history graduates explore related job opportunities.
I think it is important that the government pay attention to research and development in general. So multiple departments need research and development units, and historians make great researchers. So the fact that our young people study history doesn't mean they end up being historians or history teachers and things like that. So there are a lot of job opportunities.
The reintroduction of history as a major subject in Nigerian primary and secondary schools emphasizes the importance of the subject in nation building and identity formation. In Lagos for News Central, I am Omolola Ololade.
Now joining us to discuss this pivotal development is Dr. Ganiu Bamgbose, a lecturer in the Department of English at Lagos State University. Dr. Bamgbose, you're welcome. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good to be here. Thank you for joining us, Doctor.
I want to start by saying, I remember when there was history in schools. I didn't take it out, I'm a science student, but 10 years ago it was taken out. Now if we take a look at the 10-year gap, it was 10 years. Wait, hang on a second.
It's not 10, 10 is 2019.
Yeah, that's true. 2009, so that's 20.
Yes, 20 almost years 20 years.
My math is wrong. Maybe I should have focused more on math. But what's the effect of taking history out of the curriculum in those 20 years that it's been out? Do you think it's had a marked effect on people's perhaps maybe culture or sense of heritage?
A very serious one, a very serious effect, because you now have young people who do not have a sense of identity, young people who do not appreciate cultural heritage and values, right? I like to make clear that history is not mere study. It helps with identity construction. It helps with understanding ideologies. I am a lecturer in the university. There are a whole lot of things that are tied to knowing your history, your historical values, all right? There is the Yoruba phenomenon of Omoluabi, which is greatly enculturated within the knowledge of the history of the Yoruba as a people. So when you do not let people know their history, you are preparing human beings who do not know how to approach the future.
Look, like I said, I've said this before, that history was one of my favorite subjects in school. And then I was actually offered the admission to study education English language. But I went for education English language instead of, sorry, education history, there we go, instead of, but I went for education English language. And I remember how much, it's helped in forming, the nuances and helps us understand perspective and helps us understand what we see. And it makes you understand that our life and the world itself is very cyclical, like it's a cycle, Absolutely. It never ends, right? Absolutely. And so with this reintroduction, do you think that we have the capacity with the educational sector when it comes to teachers, you know, books, textbook, curriculum, to really teach? Because, I mean, if you expand it, that is schools in the whole 36 states plus the FCT.
At the level of capacity, at the moment, the answer is a clear no. But
and what would it take then?
But is it doable? A big yes.
So what would it take then?
So what it would take then would be to, I'd like to let you know that all along, schools, universities have been studying history. And very fascinatingly, it's not just been history. So you have some schools call it history and international studies, history and diplomatic studies, and so on. All right, so we have teachers in training. In Lagos State University, where I lecture, for instance, we have history education. So all we need to do is to put systems and structures in place to train teachers, all right, to be good teachers. I like to make clear, in an article I published just yesterday on the issue of a teacher who slapped a young pupil several times, we need to understand that teaching is one of the most abused professions in Nigeria.
Agree.
When people study banking and finance, banks train them before absorbing them, all right? Young doctors have to be housemen, all right, before they come in. Young lawyers, but you just assume that anybody with the content knowledge is good enough to be a teacher. Someone who does not understand the language of empathy, who does not understand the language of patience, who does not understand procedural ways of delivering content. So it is not just about having the content. So at the level of content, yes, there are students. But one of the things the government needs to do, and this goes beyond history, is the need to give teachers what we call pedagogical background. Teach them what, because in the end, not bookish history this time.
Right.
We're not just looking at bookish history where you say amalgamation was in 1945. What does it portend for the young people living in this age? Their critical thinking, the ability to relate with people, the ability to tap into the potentialities of their different cultures. All right? So certainly, at the moment, I do not think we are ready. But does the government have what it takes? Yes, we do. All right? Train teachers in this regard. Give them 21st century pedagogical, methodological knowledge that it takes to not just teach history as studies, but as something instrumental in the building of young people's psyche and helping them relate better as human beings.
So this gap, this dearth of history studies in schools for the past perhaps 20 years, what has it caused in the socio-political landscape? Do we see a lack of enthusiasm for young people now to go into governance or even care about governance? Is that what's responsible?
Yes, yes. You find issues at the level of political participation, but then young people are even interested in politics because it looks like a juicy place to go. But beyond that, we now look at interpersonal relation. All right? That has seriously been affected. Sometime last year, okay, so you now find young people who tell you, my name is Bamgbose. My name is Adeola. Your name is Adeola Bamgbose. How do you say Adeola?
My name is Olamide.
So all right? And then you even have the ones who tell you, sorry, I'm Adeola, but I don't speak Yoruba. Excuse me.
Excuse me.
What's the dignity?
Speak to the hands, the face can't hear.
Yeah. So I tell anyone who cares to learn that if you do not speak your language, you lack an identity. And these are some of the consequences of not teaching people history. Because so they do not know where they are coming from, so they are not attracted to it. You have not told them about the likes of, I'll tell anybody who cares to learn, that when you mention Ogun, before some young Yoruba people, the next thing is Jesus, God forbid. And I'm asking, what exactly has Ogun done to you? Because what we know about all of these people is that they were evil. Oro, a Yoruba socio-religious concept, is used for cleansing. But what an average young person knows about Oro is that Oro kills women. So there is a need for us to understand what we have got. Okay, so for example, one last one.
Right.
DNA now seems like a very new thing. Right. And seems like it is completely European, modern, and so on. But the Elijah people will throw their young kids in the water, and if such child is not a bastard, the water brings him back. What sort of DNA is more than that?
You know what? I'm so look. I absolutely love this because I'm reading a book. It's called Yoruba Boy Running. It's a retelling of Samuel Ajayi Crowther's story, right? When he was into captivity, it was written by B. Bandele. He was the director and the producer for Yellow Sun, the movie.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he died last year. May so rest in peace. But what was very interesting was the introduction of the book, the preface, which was written by none other than the Nobel laureate Wole Soyinka. And what he did was he talked about slavery, and then he likened it to slavery, modern day slavery, and how it's brilliant, and how the kidnapping of children in schools can also be a modern day slavery. Why? Because we're still peddling them back to be sold. But this time in the name of ransom payment. Brilliant.
Interesting.
It's so brilliant. But anyway, so it begs to ask the question about the curriculum of history, right? And the phenomena that is the unreliable narrator. And you're a lecturer of English, so you know what I'm talking about. The unreliable narrator, that the unreliable narrator oftentimes would tell the story with their own bias.
Selectively.
Very selectively. So can we, tell our curriculum, can the curriculum be structured in a way where it is not taught by an unreliable narrator, it is not biased?
Oh yes.
And it's true to
in
fact.
fact, we need to make clear, there is something in the head of an average young Nigerian person now, and that's the assumption that everything black is evil. I am asking a question. You are on a video call, yeah? You are on a video call with someone in Canada, and then you can see this person, you are laughing together, and that's technology. But when a woman summons someone from a port, that's evil.
Oh, wow.
So there are a whole lot of things. There are a whole lot of things that have to be corrected. There are a whole lot. We need to make clear that whatever is African is not necessarily evil. Whatever is African is not necessarily barbaric.
It's demystified.
So it is assumed that Baron de Montesquieu introduced the idea of separation of power to us.
Meanwhile, he's not the one.
I mean, in the old Oyo Empire, you had the Alaafin of Oyo, you had the Alaafin of Oyo with your 12 CFA or NOFA making up the executive. You had the Oyomesi making up the legislature, and then you had the Ogboni group making up the judiciary. How did he introduce separation of powers for God's sake? Okay, so now you would say, and that's about the unknown narrator who will narrate the story to suit them. Now we were told that Mongo Park discovered, isn't that ridiculous? People had been living in that riverine area before his own grandfather was probably born. How would you discover where human beings were living? Do you discover a settlement? You arrive there. So shall we make something clear? The problem in Nigeria has never been underdevelopment. The problem has always been that we have always been underrecorded. We have always been underrecorded. And I will return to my most important point. You see, reintroducing history is not the complete solution. We now have to be strategic in its teaching, such that this time around, it is not just to know that Efuntoye Tinubu was a Lagos businesswoman. What can be taken from her virtues? What lessons can be learned from her economic breakthroughs? So we have to teach this content this time around in a way that it applies to real life. You studied English language.
Yes, I
When I teach my students these days, I tell them that we are simply made to memorize a whole lot of things growing up. And that is the name of any person, animal, place, or thing. A verb is an action whether you're doing, a pronoun is a way instead of a. So we read these things like we're slightly reading points.
Trauma.
So we have to make it more pragmatic. That's the word. Not just history as a study this time around.
Right.
Not history as a study.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I have an argument from the other side, and I'm going to play devil's advocate here. Some people have argued that the reintroduction of history into our curriculum is actually going to be a seed that's been that we've struggled with from before, where people start to be divided based on culture, tribe, or religion.
Right.
That if we reintroduce this, instead of making Nigeria a global, just a unit, it's going to divide us further. Now, that's not my argument. I'm putting it to you as...
But then, without teaching history, does that make us one? What you call Nigeria is an undue conglomeration of independently existing nations put together in the interest of the colonialist. Teach history or do not, we are not one. We are just trying to foster that national cohesion. It is an imagined situation that we all are doing our best to cope with. But taking away the truth does not exactly help you achieve the unity, whether you like it or not. I am first a Yoruba before I'm a Nigerian. And that's why we are arguing for regionalism. That does not mean the Igbo person is my enemy. But you tell me, if you were a Hausa person, would you give the job to a Yoruba before your Hausa townsman? It's a natural phenomenon. Everybody, affiliations.
Let me pause you there.
stages.
Let me also let me bring this from looking at children play, for instance. Current children, my daughter is 9 years old, and when I see her play with her peers, I don't see her say, oh, this person is from here, there, or there. They have no sense of it at all. I, however, born in the 80s, I have a moderate sense of where are you from? Oh, you're my brother, even if I do not use it to my advantage or disadvantage of anybody else. Now, my parents have a very strong hold on culture and tribe. In fact, I dare say tribalism, because they were implanted with this idea that, oh, a Yoruba person is more than just your brother. He's this, and if you find somebody from another tribe, your Yoruba brother comes first. So you can see the difference in how we're transcending through a gradient of
different generations,
cultural representation and perception of what makes us one Nigeria or a unit of Nigeria. So you get where that argument comes from regarding the fact that
it's quite clear. What I am saying is that all of these that you have talked about, the national cohesion, the unity, the patriotism, the oneness, the national orientation, all of these can still be achieved. So do you want to promote the Nigerian socio-political reality at the expense of
losing
the
an
ethnic?
identity?
You know, sometimes it's about the terminology. So maybe we do not talk about being tribalistic. We say ethnic orientation. All right, so I understand we want to grow Nigeria as one. Is that enough reason to now, I do not want to say kill, suppress my Yoruba identity? I am thinking these things can run simultaneously. That's my argument. You do not need to kill the ethnic consciousness as a way of promoting the national cohesion.
So how and I think that's where the education sector needs to double down on the on the citizenship education.
Different things take care of different. Okay, so there is social studies, there is civic education. All of these courses take care of the national cohesion and so on.
And there's also the National Orientation Agency as well.
Absolutely.
You know that, I mean, because, you know, early 2000s, late 90s, there was shows on television, the Nigeria Television Corporation Authority, that was syndicated nationwide, that was about propelling the unity and national...
Do you remember the one of the masquerades?
What
was it called?
The village masquerade?
No. It was an entire documentary put together to showcase masquerades from the East. And every time we'd gather around, our parents used to say this is demonic, but it was interesting to me.
It was interesting. Exactly. So there were TV shows that was about, you know, promoting national, you know, unity and talking about patriotism. And at the end of the day, the tagline will always be united we stand, divided we fall. Aired on Saturday morning, 9 a.m. in the morning, you never miss it. But the question I want to ask you, right, is also still on history. And you've been talking about the methodology of education and really how the education profession and the quality of teachers that is currently being employed do not meet the standard in terms of global standard. And Nigeria is at a peculiar point. You know, we are at a crucial point in our society and the fabric of our society, right? And so with the reintroduction of history, do you think, or what would be your recommendation in terms of improving, you know, the teachers that will be teaching this subject? Because it's one thing for the curriculum to be unbiased. It's another thing for the teacher to push their perception on the children, to push their own thinking on the children. Because as much as I'm teaching a subject, there's no how I'm not going to be biased. So how can we teach that? That's where my question is coming from.
Okay, so basically what we then need to do is what we call the teach the teacher program. Teach the teacher. All right? At every point in time, there are educational consultants, all right, who should because I tell you, the fact that you are out with B ed history does not automatically make you a teacher. So the ministry needs to put programs in place where we are exactly, again, very importantly, synchronize the efforts. Because if care is not taken, the whole idea of the reintroduction of history is still going to boil down to strengthening ethnic biases. So the Igbo teacher of history is promoting the Igbo culture, the Yoruba teacher of history in Lagos. So we have to have a way of synchronizing the efforts. Okay, and what is most important now that we are reintroducing, and Lagos State government is really trying in this regard. As an English teacher, a whole lot of times we are invited to train the teachers. We go to Owutu in Ikorodu, we teach them 21st century pedagogical procedures for going about the teaching. Okay, how do you teach language, for example, communicatively? So how do you teach history not just as study, but as something that is going to foster? Okay, so when you are teaching about those women who were very prosperous economically, that can be used as an instrument for tackling gender imbalance.
I see.
Okay, so such that the teaching of history should always boil down to societal indices, talking about gender imbalance, talking about economic activities, talking about the eradication of social vices, Yahoo, Yahoo, and all of those things. So you want to tell the history of people like Alajo Shomolu is the story of a man who was a thrift collector or something, so good at what he was that he wouldn't write anything down, and if 15 people should give money to him, he has a record of it, all right? And this was somebody who grew with this kind of job to become a very prosperous man. So again, another thing we want history to do is to be able to inspire the young ones, that you can move in the path of just and still arrive at that destination. All right, so we need to teach the teachers. That is essentially what we need to do now, not just to reintroduce this course, all right, not just to reintroduce this subject. The teachers have to be taught and have to be conscientized on all of the national agenda we intend to achieve with the reintroduction of history that goes beyond study, but it is geared towards realizing certain things, national consciousness, right values in the society, and all of these things.
Well, one thing that history taught me was the appreciation of people. It really helped in fostering my appreciation of culture. I mean, I've always said this, I'm from a multicultural background. My father is from South, my mother is also from South. My stepmother is, from the North. My sister is married to a man from the Southwest. My younger brother's married from a woman also. So there's that, we're a melting pot, and if you come for a family function, there's different tables, and everyone's speaking his Hausa, there's Yoruba, there's Hausa, this table there's Yoruba, on this table there's Efik, on this table there's Nkerera, on this table, just different languages that you're hearing, and it's a vibrant, it's vibrant, it's fun, and I love it, and it's beautiful as well. And I also think that as much as we're pushing an agenda or it's all about national orientation, I also hope and I pray that history also helps, move at the next generation to not just understanding, but appreciating and embracing difference, if that makes sense. Embracing
I get what you're
difference.
trying to say.
I hope it does that.
I can see the passion that you have for this reintroduction of history, and I can see the relevant points that you're making regarding the reintroduction. However, being in the system yourself for many years, couldn't there or isn't there need for some other reforms to have been made before this 1st of January was announced and put there? Okay, boom, history. Doesn't the education sector here in Nigeria need more reforms that far supersede or are more relevant than this reintroduction?
Oh yes, oh yes. But then, like we would always say, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. Let's say a number of reforms ought to have been introduced that were not introduced. Are they too late? No. They can still be introduced now. So all of these things need to stay. For instance, in the article I wrote yesterday about the teacher who slapped the student several times, everybody wants to talk about this teacher and then would make a whole lot of noise about it, and then 2 weeks' time you would hear another story. In other words, is there no need for a general overhaul of the situation? Is the teacher in the first place a teacher? How much is she paid for the job? How well is she motivated? All right, so a whole lot of things, like you have said.
Does she have appreciation for the job, or understand, you know,
do you get? You have a teacher who teaches JSS1 to SS3, and you're saying that wouldn't be a frustrated human being, primary 1 to primary 4, right? So all of these factors are there. But then a step at a time. Many people would assume that I love to support the government, but I'm just an optimist who believes every right move should be encouraged. So should this be the only thing to be done? No. Is it even the only thing being done? No. I'll remind you of one. What's the essence of NYSC? The whole idea of NYSC is people from the north should come to the east, those in the east should come to the south, so that we can appreciate that generality, okay, that binds us. So I want you to know that what we want to achieve in terms of integration, in terms of unity, in terms of cohesion, is not the sole responsibility of history. The whole load isn't going to go on history. There are a whole lot of other things that we have to do, and there are a whole lot of other things that are also in place. You have the arts, is it called Art Center? There is one around the Ikeja. Every state has it, all right, where you have performances that do not only depict your own reality. So the Art Center in Lagos may decide to show the Igbo tradition and so on. So it is going to be some kind of multifaceted thing that would not live solely to history. But is history a good move? An absolutely good one. Can it achieve these things? Yes. What are some of the basic things we then need to do? Like I had said, teach the teachers, okay, give them proper orientation, and other things can come in place. But for now, let's rejoice in the fact that we would know where we are coming from, and I'll take that to be a whole lot in itself.
So do you think this will further, perhaps maybe instigate more reform?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, I do hope that, you know, with this introduction, it would be, they would also have to have a proper relook in terms of our curriculum. I hope this will spur the stakeholders into reshaping the curriculum to meet the standard, you know, global standards.
And then let's remind ourselves that, you know, in Nigeria, the problem hasn't exactly been policies. It's been the implementation. The curriculum is finer than what you find being implemented. You know, for example, as someone who studied education, that the language of the immediate environment should be used to teach young people from primary 1 to primary 3.
Right.
So you should not even be taught in English until you are in primary 4. But I ask you, would you even put your own daughter in a school where your own language is spoken from primary 1 to primary 3? If you would, how many Nigerians would? So it has never been about the availability of policies. It has been about the implementation of those policies. So one thing we need to plead with the government is that Yoruba would say, it is not to start. You have to see it through. It is important that when these policies are in place, we implement them. Do we even know the meaning of Basic 9? Do we know why it was 6334? Do you know compulsory education ends in GSS 3? That's why it's called Basic 9. At the inception of the, when the 6334 system was introduced, the idea was that every state should have 6 technical schools or thereabout. I put it to you confidently today as an educationist that there are people who are not wired for formal engagement.
Sure.
They are wired for technical and vocational skills. Right. And that's why every school now, every state now should have technical and vocational center. Again, the Lagos state government is doing well in this area. But how many parents would you tell that after basic education, which ends in Basic 9 or GSS 3, let your daughter or your son proceed to the technical school? You see people going to those places just because they do not have money. Not exactly because they think it is something that is good for their. So we need to create a better awareness about these policies. Yeah. We need to let people know that everybody will not go in the way. We have 3 H's: the head, the hand, and the heart. called the cognitive domain, the psychomotor domain, and the affective domain. Some people would function very well in the cognitive domain. Like I am talking now, I may not be able to do so much with my hand, but when it comes to contributing to discussions and thinking things through, I can't. There are people who do not use, they do not talk much. Just put the whole thing down, let's couple it. When you now want such person to go and study banking and finance, you are making a mess of a destiny.
And I think that also boils down to, you know, our cultural perception of, you know, what's really happening, because I feel like as much as we were asking for all of this introduction, we also need to ask our state, we also need to ask, we also need to talk to, you know, those who are in charge of national orientation to start to push the agenda for saying that the dichotomy, you know, of whether it's vocational skills, whether it's technical skills, they are still very much important and they contribute hugely to our society. Bamgbose, many thanks for coming on.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ganiu Bamgbose.
Thank you for just coming on and giving us a bit of insight.
You gave us a lecture. You didn't
I enjoyed this very much. I love it so much. Thank you so much. Such an insightful conversation. Coming up next, we're going to be talking about public health as we discuss the Human Metapneumovirus. There we go. Hyper-nympho. After the break, join us again.
Well, welcome. It's time for Wellness Central, and today we're going to turn our focus to the global health landscape, specifically the human metapneumovirus, which has triggered concerns worldwide. Now, while HMPV is not new, its resurgence has led to a heightened global surveillance due to the risks, and particularly for children and also every individual, with immunocompromised individuals specifically. Now, the virus is primarily spread through respiratory droplets and close contact with people, similar to flu. And also symptoms can range from mild colds to severe respiratory distress. Here in Nigeria, the Nigerian Center for Disease Control has assured the public that there are no confirmed cases of HMPV in the country at the moment. The NCDC has commenced testing and monitoring efforts as a precautionary measure. Officials have also emphasized the importance of preventive practices such as regular hand washing, wearing of face masks in crowded spaces, especially in seeking early medical attention when respiratory symptoms occur. Now, while Nigerians' current risk is categorized as moderate, there is growing concern about Africa's exposure to global outbreaks due to gaps in healthcare infrastructure and also international travel connections.
And so joining us to shed more light on this discussion, we're joined by Dr. Maria Moshudi. She is a public health physician, and she joins us here to give a bit of insight into this conversation. Dr. Moshudi, many thanks for joining us. I had an issue saying the name Human Metapneumovirus. There we go.
Exactly.
Pneumovirus. Another respiratory disease.
Yeah.
Just coming off the heels of a pandemic from 2020 that had the world at its knees, and even public health sectors, even the best of the world countries with public health, facilities grapple with this.
Yeah.
Should we be worried?
Yes. As a country, we are already putting in place what we need to do, and so yes, we should be at alert. So not necessarily worried, but at alert. We should, as a country, the NCDC has already done an assessment, a risk assessment, and it's shown that we are moderate as at Monday, and then this is a continuous process. And so as a country, we'll just keep putting all necessary things in place to ensure that once we get the red alert that we have a case, we'll be able to move.
We came off of the Ebola virus instance, and right off the back of the coronavirus instance, the authorities here in Nigeria, when it comes to health, actually handled these cases, well, moderately well, very well in the case of the Ebola virus. And I mean, nobody saw the coronavirus, or you can't say that you passed it or you failed it, but we're here now. So based on that, how much trust should I have in the authorities' declaration that we are at moderate risk and we should have no worries at all?
Okay, so you see, really the authorities put in a lot, particularly for the coronavirus. for the COVID virus. It was a lot, and Nigeria as a country did very beautifully compared to other countries. Yes, so as a country, the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, we have structures in place already. And so we're just, at the onset of any epidemic, pandemic, or outbreak, all the structures are just reactivated. So for instance, in Nigeria, we have the influenza centers that are in 6 geopolitical zones, and they have been activated. During the COVID, yes, those centers were able to carry out the COVID testing. And so there are already preparations put in place for those centers to be able to test for HMPV, should in case we have any case. And then also not just that, very importantly for us as a country is our point of entry. Nigeria, Lagos, for instance, is beehive of activities. Can remember, imagine the number of people we had in country in December coming in and out, and people are still tripping in and out of the country. And so the point of entries are already being manned. The Port Health officials have been trained as expected in presence of any pandemic, and the necessary measures have been put in place. There is an ongoing, continuous, regular assessment. The officials have been trained, quarantine stations are very isolated, and also the health declaration form is currently in use. Once you go out of country, you're coming back, you need to fill that form, and then this gives an insight to it. The form, they're soft copy, they're hard copy. So once they're filled, you're able to look and say, oh, this person needs to be put under quarantine, and then the person gets quarantined. Someone that has to be isolated is also isolated. So all those necessary measures are put in place. That's for the quarantine, and then should in case someone comes down with the HMPV, there are centers that are already, we have infectious disease centers where people are managed, and then currently HMPV doesn't have any vaccine, so it's mainly supportive treatment, hydration, rest, and then treat as symptoms, occur as case may be. So the country is, I think
Judith, remind me about those forms she talked about from before. I have something to ask about them, but go ahead.
I'll do that if my brain allows me. Let's talk about, the primary modes of transmission for HPWV, sorry, HMPV. I don't know what W is saying there.
That's German if you're mistaking your V's for W's.
Yeah, there we go. But what's interesting about it, it bears almost same similarities with respiratory illnesses like COVID-19. That is it? I know this is a speculative, conspiratorial question, but bear with me.
All right.
Is this a hybrid or this is an offshoot of COVID-19? Is it?
Okay, so the thing is, HMPV has always been there.
Yes,
it's been.
I don't know.
It was first. So it was first identified in 2001 in Netherlands, not even in China, among Dutch children. However, it has always been there since decades, several decades. However, what is bringing the concern now is because we are having a higher number of cases than normal. And you can see that it has a particular trend. It occurs in the colder seasons, winter towards spring or Amazon for us here in Nigeria. So we can say that why China has come out to say this is what we're having is because they usually have HMPV cases, but this is not above normal. It's look like an outbreak, becoming like an epidemic, and then can become a pandemic if not taken care of. So that's why that alert, it's important.
I'm sorry,
It's fine.
you got my facial expression. I was wondering how deadly it is.
Okay, so it's a respiratory infection. And like you said, symptoms, you can have cough, fever, you can have nasal congestions, wheezing, as case may be. However, people can have complications like pneumonia, bronchitis. And how deadly it is, to answer that question, is dependent on individual. Because studies have found that some people are more susceptible than others. Children, older adults, people with weakened immune systems. So people that have comorbidities, they have additional underlying health conditions, will have poor outcomes compared to people that have a very stable premorbidity.
But you did mention that there's no vaccine or cure for it. So you could get it and still get better.
Yes, you could get it and still get better supportive treatment, basically.
But there's the risk of it ending up in mortality.
Yes.
Huh? Well, wait.
No, that brought you back? Welcome back to this.
I thought we were just talking about cold now.
Yeah, no, but that's the thing, because that's what people have. It's just it's just like a cold.
I thought it was so it now begs to ask the question of when when should we, where's the line between mild to now severe, go to the hospital?
Okay, so I think that also boils down to our health-seeking behavior. You know, in our environment, we have very poor health-seeking behavior. You have a cold, some people use, get to the pharmacy, get over-the-counter drugs, and just take it up. They don't even bother to present at the health facility. So it's important for us as individuals to improve our health-seeking behavior. You come down with a cold, you might just think it's a cold. But remember, someone that is asthmatic might feel, oh, maybe I'm wheezing or something else. It's a bit more than that. So it's better that we present at the health facility on time, particularly now that we're having HMPV. And everybody, it's not just catarrh, it's not just cough, you know. So it's important that we present early at the healthcare facility. And that, yes, you see a healthcare practitioner and the person says, oh, don't worry, it's mild cold. Or no, there's something I can listen to in your chest that is a bit above normal.
Are there peculiar symptoms that are different from that of the common cold or flu?
No, so it's respiratory illness. So you can even see the symptoms are almost the same, just like COVID. You know, just you can have fever, but you can see this cough is not resolving, this fever is not resolving. The healthcare practitioner is able to tell you that no, this cough is beyond normal.
This wheezing you're eating is too tedious for your chest.
Can I use the final few minutes to ask that question regarding the forms?
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing, and because you brought back the COVID instance, and this is why I'm asking this question regarding those forms. I was outside the country, and when I came back in, I was presented with these forms. But I was also told by the gentleman, not so gentle, who offered me the form. He said, "Are you going out of the country anytime soon?" I said, "No." He said, "Okay, just hand me some money and you don't need to fill the form." So that broke my trust in the system, because that means that I could still bring in this virus and not be attended or not be noted. And I could go about spreading it. The facilities, the structure, the people, the personnel. If we have this kind of an instance coming back, how prepared, I go back to our very first question now, are we for that kind of an instance, noting the failures from the last instance?
Okay, so, well, I think I want to start with failures from last incident, but I'll pick that scenario that you gave at the airport. I think I was out of country like 2 months ago, and, well, you know, because there's a link, so most people are just told to put on link, but you see, even in any system, we just have to try and see about the negatives, then put it that way, because ideally that wasn't supposed to happen.
No, it wasn't.
Because even on in the L declaration form, you have several things that there in the last country you visited, where you plan to go next, you know, and then symptoms that you could have. So it's nothing, nobody is going to punish you for filling that form. So I don't see any reason why someone should say, no, you don't have to fill the form.
You remember you had to come up with a certificate from the other country noting that you you're not positive. So they would take money from you and just disregard the certificate. If you don't have it, it's okay, just give me something under the table.
That definitely is not right.
Well, go ahead, because you're about to finish.
Yeah, that definitely is not right. But however, with the HMPV, so of course, I know that all hands are on deck at the port of entries. And remember that we also have several port of entries in quotes, porous port of entries.
Yeah, porous.
Exactly.
Yeah, people go in and out on a daily basis, you understand. However, I know that officials are working day and night to ensure that all these port of entries are properly manned. And then even when you go through the land borders, you also have to fill the forms. Yes, when you go through the land, I remember there was one time I just practically walked across the border between Badegry and Semen border. But you still have to fill the form.
Right.
Yes. So
let's quickly center the immunocompromised individuals and the elderly. And worse is the elderly that are already immunocompromised. How can they then protect themselves, you know, especially at this time?
And then also, particularly, also children, you forgot to mention.
Unfortunately, I don't have children, forgive me. Children. I mean, I keep forgetting this one.
Children, yes. So it's important that we take necessary precautionary measures. The first is this sensitization, awareness. Everybody needs to know there is HMPV in the world, not in the country now, in the world. And so we need to take measures. We need to increase our sensitization, tell people. And then after that, we need to improve on our hygiene. First things first. So hand hygiene. Remember during COVID, everybody was we're washing our hands as if our life depended on it, you understand? So we need to improve our hand washing, and particularly for children. Remember, they pick things from the floor, just pick things, and then put in their mouth and they share with their friends. So we need to improve hand washing.
I'm sorry.
We need to improve hand washing for the children, and then also ensure that they imbibe with those habits. And then it's also important that aside hand washing, cough. We need to improve our cough ethics. So if you know you're coughing, please don't go to crowded places, don't go to public places. Stay away, and then, you know, from the crowd. And then if you're coughing, please ensure that you cough into a tissue paper that you discard appropriately, or you cough into the, your bent elbow, so that you don't disperse the particles into the air, and then nobody, someone else doesn't take it up. And then also for the elderly, for the people that you have mentioned, they should also ensure that they wear icy materials. You can use the face masks, you know, if they're having a cold or something. They can try to improve their immune system by taking lots of fruits and vegetables, as case may be.
Right. Listen, this is a clown call to the mother, all right, if you watch, because I know she's...
School owners?
Oh, school owners as well, there we go. But when I say the mother, she knows herself. She's elderly and also immunocompromised, and she's telling me she's going for mass tomorrow. If I catch you, I'm ready for a driver, I cannot come and get you. Better stay in your house. You can walk and attend mass, you know, online.
You've given us such great information about what to look out for at this instance, and we want to thank the authorities for also making sure that everybody's well informed. Thank you very much for being a part of the show. The reason why I laughed while we were talking about children and them putting...
I had to laugh because my niece...
You just be at work and then they just call you, sorry, your daughter just swallowed padlock.
Oh my God! Oh, that's coin. It's a coin.
And then please, parents should ensure that if they have sick children, please keep them at home. Don't let them go to school so they don't infect their colleagues.
Yeah, there we go. Keep your child at home.
Yes, indeed.
I know they're a handful, but keep them at home. Thank you.
Thank you very much, man, for being with us here and giving us this expert information regarding the situation. That would be how we're rounding off things here
yes,
today.
Indeed. It's been quite the show this Saturday, bringing you the very best from, you know, from economy to the oil and gas sector to tourism and hospitality.
Yes, exactly. That was
and
an
of course,
exciting one.
Education and now healthcare. And that's how we wrap up the Saturday, okay? But not to worry, we'll be back tomorrow, Saturday morning, bright Sunday morning, back in early at 8 a.m. in the morning for you for another edition of Breakfast Extra. Until then, it's goodbye from us. I am Judith at TV.
And I'm Azino Apil. Catch you guys tomorrow at 8 a.m.
Bye. Bye-bye.